Chapter 5461. However, at this moment, Gu Xinyue was almost exhausted. At this moment, she was standing on the highest step in the illusory realm, looking helpless. I told you that I don't want the inheritance of Emperor Nva. Why do you insist on giving it to me? She could not figure it out. She could have left this illusory realm a long time ago. Besides, she also knew that others like her had obtained thousands of inheritance chips, which could be used to exchange for what they needed. However, when she was about to put away the inheritance chips, a phantom of Emperor Nva suddenly appeared in front of her. She insisted that she was suitable for the inheritance and needed her to inherit it. What the hell is going on? Gu Xinyue could not calm down for a long time. After the phantom of Emperor Nva appeared, it took her to another space. In that space, there were many records of Emperor Nva's martial skills, many of which were extremely rare. They were much more precious than the martial skills of Emperor Nva that they had cultivated before. Moreover, he was naturally much stronger than before. Gu Xinyue found that although she did not feel anything about the inheritance of Emperor Nva, she felt like a fish in water when cultivating these martial skills of Emperor Nva. The point was that she was not cultivating as a warrior of Emperor Nva's divine clan in the illusory realm. Instead, she was cultivating martial skills of Emperor Nva with her own body. She could even use martial skills of Emperor Nva without cultivating the divine power of Emperor Nva's inheritance. After that, under the guidance of the Phantom, she began to cultivate the power of Emperor Nva's inheritance. Once she cultivated this power, she could condense the essence blood of Emperor Nva's divine clan in her bloodline, just like the essence blood of divine dragon and demon god. She could transform into the divine body of Emperor Nva to fight. She didn't know how long she had cultivated. All in all, the phantom of Emperor Nva had no intention of letting her out. Therefore, she could only cultivate martial skills of Emperor Nva and the inheritance of Emperor Nva in that place. Finally, over 100 years passed. She had been in this illusory space for more than 100 years. Although her appearance did not change much because of her own blood essence, her appearance was still the same as before. However, over 100 years had passed in her life. After 100 years, she seemed to have become one with the inheritance of Emperor Wa. Originally, her natal inheritance was the inheritance of the Dragon God clan, or at least the inheritance of the power of the starry sky. But now, the inheritance of Emperor Nva had once again become the dominant part of her life. Emperor Nva's inheritance had its own unique features. One did not need to remove other inheritances to cultivate it. Just like the current Kong Shin Mu, the inheritance of the Dragon God clan and the Demon God clan coexisted. When these two existed together, it was obvious which one was dominant. For example, Kong Shin Mu's cultivation of the Dragon God clan was dominant. Now that Gu Xinyue had experienced 100 years, the essence blood of Emperor Nva's celestial clan had taken the dominant position in her body. Gu Xinyue sighed. Wasn't it too difficult for her? Originally, she didn't want the impartation of Emperor Nva at all. As a result, she was forced to cultivate for 100 years. Although she made great achievements, it was too hard for her to experience the 100 years. If it weren't for the fact that time was different from the outside world, she would have collapsed now. She hadn't seen Kong Shin Mu for 100 years. Was he going to forget her? Fortunately, according to the ratio, the 100 years were only about 1 day in the outside world. Now, the strength of my celestial clan of Emperor Nva's inheritance has surpassed that of the Dragon God clan. Gu Xinyue's mood was a little complicated. Although she had the celestial clan's talent blood, and she had absorbed the power of the illusionary star crystal, which made the talent ability of the illusionary dragon more than 10 times stronger. But with the strength of the celestial clan of Emperor Nva's inheritance, she had cultivated to the real peak of the emperor level. She hadn't broken through to the supreme god level, but now, as long as she wanted, she could make her celestial clan of Emperor Nva break through to the supreme god level at any time. She had even cultivated several supreme god level martial arts techniques of Emperor Nva to the supreme saint level. This made the strength of her celestial clan of Emperor Nva's inheritance really surpass that of the Dragon God clan. Originally, although the strength of her celestial clan of Emperor Nva was also at the peak of the emperor level, it was mostly the strength of illusions and dreams. Her real face-to-face strength was not very strong. But now, after cultivating all kinds of martial arts techniques of Emperor Nva's inheritance, her face-to-face strength had suddenly increased by more than 100 times. It had even surpassed the power of dreams inherited by her dragon god clan. This was, of course, an excellent thing for her. But there was no doubt that her path in the future would become more bumpy and dangerous. The Phantom of Emperor Envoi also told her that in the future, she would bear the responsibility of revitalizing the inheritance of Emperor Envoi. Why me? Gu Xinyue was so depressed. When she was cultivating martial arts techniques of Emperor Envoi, she didn't find that her cultivation speed was particularly fast. Otherwise, she wouldn't have stayed in that cultivation space for more than 100 years. If it were someone else who was really talented, it would probably only take 40 or 50 years, or even 20 or 30 years. She really wasn't talented in the inheritance of Emperor Envoi. She was able to experience this herself when she was cultivating. So, why was she chosen to bear the responsibility of revitalizing the inheritance of Emperor Envoi? It was puzzling. But now, no matter what, she had obtained the inheritance of Emperor Envoi, and Gu Xinyue even got a token of Emperor Envoi that others couldn't get. This token of Emperor Envoi was engraved with the aura of Emperor Envoi's divine clan. It could let her enter the main hall of the inheritance of Emperor Envoi. Unfortunately, the main hall was not in this inheritance relic of Emperor Envoi, so she could only put it away now. When she got to the main hall of the inheritance of Emperor Envoi, she would get more precious resources. As for the other things, she was almost the same as others. She got a ring of Emperor Envoi, but the cultivation resources stored in the ring were much more than those of others. There were even 5 rings of Emperor Envoi in her ring of Emperor Envoi, which meant that the other 5 people could also get the inheritance of Emperor Envoi, and they would be chosen by Gu Xinyue herself. Confused, puzzled, and hard to guess. With such a mood, Gu Xinyue finally appeared in front of Kong Xinmu and others. Gu Xinyue, you finally came out. How are you? Kong Xinmu immediately went up to her and asked with concern. He was really worried that something might happen to Gu Xinyue. I'm fine, but, with a wry smile, Gu Xinyue told them what she had experienced. When Kong Xinmu and others heard about it, they were all dumbfounded. No way! Sister Warm Moon, were you forced to cultivate the inheritance of Emperor Envoi? That's amazing! How could such a thing happen? Chapter 5462. Gu Xinyue gave a wry smile. She really didn't know what was going on. Besides, apart from Kong Xinmu who had some guesses, the others didn't have a clue either. Even Kong Xinmu didn't have some guesses. Instead, it was the consciousness of the ancient demonic god in his body that had an immature guess. Hehehe. I'm afraid that Emperor Envoi has left some consciousness in the relics of inheritance in different places. The ancient fiend celestial ancestor chuckled. Kid, this devouring power of yours is quite something. I'm afraid that Emperor Envoi's consciousness has seen it. Jiang Shenwu was puzzled. My devouring power is powerful. So why didn't you choose me to inherit it? Why did you choose Gu Xinyue? Isn't it simple? The ancient demonic god sneered as if he had seen through everything. You have many kinds of inheritances. How could Emperor Envoi's consciousness choose you after seeing it? Even if she gave you the inheritance, you wouldn't regard it as the most important one. Gu Xinyue, on the other hand, is different. Perhaps it's because she could tell that you're intimate with her, so she was chosen to inherit the inheritance. With you taking care of her, her journey to the top will be smooth too. The rise of Emperor Envoi's inheritance can also be expected. Kong Xinmu looked puzzled. Close relationship? The consciousness left by Emperor Envoi could even see this? That was too amazing. And the key was, did something really happen between him and Gu Xinyue? Wasn't it a dream? Kong Xinmu felt a little sad. Since he couldn't remember what happened, he thought it was a dream. What a loss. But it was not the time to think about it. They were still in the relics of Emperor Envoi's inheritance. Anyway, the guess of the ancient demonic god's ancestor didn't sound reliable, so Kong Xinmu didn't intend to tell others. No matter what, our Gu Xinyue has obtained the big part of Emperor Envoi's inheritance. Kong Xinmu then turned to the others and said, Senior Mo Ya, Ran Ran, and Liang Xiao have also obtained the ring of Empress Envoi. Our action this time is worthwhile. Although I've spent quite a lot of time, if I were to use this time to do other things, I wouldn't even be able to get 1/10 of this harvest. The trip to Emperor Envoi's inheritance relic directly allowed them to obtain a massive amount of resources. Even to Mo Ya, these resources could be considered to be extremely abundant. Of course, she'd directly given many of them to Kong Shinmu because she didn't need them. For her, the inheritance of Empress Envy-Hua was a bit interesting. As for the other things, although it would be difficult for her to obtain them, she did not need them and would not sell them for money. To her, money was not the most important thing. Since Emperor Shi had asked her to take care of Kong Shinmu, she felt that she had the obligation to take good care of Kong Shinmu. It would be best if he was fat and full of oil, so that she wouldn't let him down. Now it seemed, she felt that Kong Shinmu should have gained a lot from this trip. Emperor Shi would also be very satisfied when he learned about it. We've already gotten what we wanted. We've explored the entire inheritance relic of Empress Envy-Hua to the deepest part. It's time for this trip to end. After a discussion, they decided to leave the inheritance relic. After we leave, the next time we meet, we should already be supreme gods. Yi Yin smiled and said to Kong Shinmu and the others, after we return, I'll probably go into seclusion for a year or two. No matter what, after breaking through to the supreme god realm, there are still many things to do. Kong Shinmu and the others all nodded in agreement. After breaking through to the next realm, they needed to coordinate with a new super dragon weapon, familiarize themselves with the new super dragon martial techniques, and integrate with the supreme god-level divine dragon essence blood. These were not things that could be done in a short time. Even Kong Shinmu was the same. Let's go out. Finally, Kong Shinmu waved his hand and led the others out of the inheritance relic. At the entrance of Empress Nvua's inheritance relic. Here, the 5 clans still had people guarding it. But since half a year ago, the experts of the 4 clans, except for the dragon gods, were not happy. Especially the Talisman Water Tribe and the 1,000-Winged Snake Tribe. It was really too difficult. When their people entered the relic, no matter how much aura of Empress Envy-Hua they obtained, it would be taken away by Kong Shinmu and the others. They were simply lawless. And in the relic, there was really no one who could stop Kong Shinmu. If they sent more people in, it would almost be a dead end. Therefore, during this period, the Talisman Water Tribe and the 1,000-Winged Snake Tribe did not send more people into the relic. Even the Fiend God Tribe and the Ancient Phoenix Tribe sent fewer people into the relic. The main reason was that the aura of Empress Envy-Hua that they obtained would be exchanged by Kong Shinmu and the others through various means. Although the things he got in exchange were not bad, they were all small profits. Most of the really good things were exchanged by Kong Shinmu and the others. Of course, it did not mean that all the good things were exchanged by Kong Shinmu and the others. The main reason was that in order to enter the central part of the relic, ordinary people would need to accumulate at least 1 or 2 years. If they entered later, they would be less competitive. Most of the good things would probably be exchanged. Therefore, most of the cultivators did not think of entering the central part of the relic. During this period, the cultivators of the 4 clans who guarded the relic felt that every day was like a year. However, they still guarded the relic and did not leave easily. It was just that they sent fewer people into the relic. Naturally, the person they were waiting for was Kong Shinmu. Waiting for Kong Shinmu to come out. Everyone was waiting. At this moment, the appearance of Kong Shinmu and the others immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the underground square. Look, the people from the Dragon God tribe are coming out. It's Kong Shinmu? It's the 8 of them. None of them died. Everyone cried out in surprise. When the news spread, it immediately caused an uproar among the people of the 5 clans in the underground square. The elders of the Dragon God tribe were the first to react. They immediately sent people to the entrance of the relic to protect Kong Shinmu and the others. At the same time, the experts of the 4 clans appeared in other directions. The experts of the Fiend God tribe and the Ancient Phoenix tribe were on the left, each led by a supreme expert. They blocked the path of Kong Shinmu and the others. On the right were the experts of the Talisman Water tribe and the 1,000-Winged Snake tribe. After all, the Fiend God tribe and the Ancient Phoenix tribe were allies with the Dragon God tribe. In the relic, Kong Shinmu did not kill the cultivators of the 2 clans. He only exchanged some of Empress Nvua's aura with the 2 clans. Therefore, when they stopped Kong Shinmu, their attitude was very good. They just wanted to ask some questions. However, the Talisman Water tribe and the 1,000-Winged Snake tribe were different. These 2 clans hated Kong Shinmu to the core. Now, many elite peak emperor-level cultivators of the 2 clans never came out after entering the relic. There was definite information that they were basically killed by Kong Shinmu in the relic. and the number of cultivators killed by Kong Shinmu and the others was at least close to 100. What kind of a huge number was that? This was different from the battlefield. On the battlefield, the death of 100 people was nothing. Even the death of 1,000 people was nothing. But these were peak Emperor-level experts who had the ability to explore the permanent mid-level relic. The death of such experts was a huge loss. Each of them had the possibility to explore the permanent mid-level relic for their respective clans and obtain some extremely important items, such as heavenly and divine items with multiple engravings. That was a deep hatred. Therefore, the experts of the Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe looked at Kong Shinmu as if they were looking at a dead man. Chapter 54-63. Hand over Kong Shinmu. A supreme strongman of the Thousand-Winged Snake clan had already transformed into a thousand-winged snake that was thousands of feet long, and he swam over from the sky. His eyes were focused, like a pair of erupting volcanoes, and endless flames were burning around him. The ultra-high temperature of his body even raised the temperature of the entire area by several levels. His eyes were directly focused on Kong Shinmu in the crowd. Kong Shinmu. Recently, this name really made him toss and turn in bed. Because of this Kong Shinmu, he, who was in charge of this place, was criticized by the Thousand-Winged Snake clan. Many practitioners of the same realm as him privately said that he was incompetent. As a supreme strongman, he actually made a young emperor-level practitioner of the Dragon God clan act so domineering in Emperor Envoi's relic, and he could do nothing about it. It was a disgrace to the Thousand-Winged Snake clan. His name was Lone Moon Jiao. In the Thousand-Winged Snake clan, they generally thought too highly of themselves. They didn't think that they had inherited the inheritance of the Thousand-Winged Snake God, but the Flood Dragon God. Therefore, their names generally contained the word Flood Dragon. They called themselves the Flood Dragon clan. Unfortunately, except for themselves, people of other clans generally called them the Thousand-Winged Snake clan. There was no other way. A snake was a snake, and it could never become a flood dragon. The key was that the origin of their inheritance was the Thousand-Winged Snake God. They didn't call themselves the Flood Dragon God, but the Thousand-Winged Snake God. No matter what, Lone Moon Jiao was a strong man of the Thousand-Winged Snake clan. He had a supreme cultivation and inherited the extremely strong power of the Thousand-Winged Snake God. In terms of combat ability, although he wasn't as strong as Emperor Shi, he wasn't far behind. Of course, this referred to comparing with Emperor Shi before he got the sacred treasure of heaven and earth. If Emperor Shi used the power of the sacred treasure of heaven and earth, he could kill Lone Moon Jiao in one move. But it was undeniable that Lone Moon Jiao, a strongman, was an extremely powerful existence in the current situation. Although the Dragon God clan had sent a supreme master to guard this place, that master's strength was not too strong. At most, he could only tie with the Lone Moon Flood Dragon. Lone Moon Jiao was not the only one who wanted to kill Kong Shinmu. There were also experts from the Xueqi tribe. A powerful cultivator of the Water Talisman tribe followed closely behind Lone Moon Jiao and arrived in front of everyone. A huge water god phantom enveloped the Talisman Water tribe elder, protecting him. The water god phantom was filled with water elemental energy. It slowly floated over like a tsunami, covering the sky and covering the earth. Xueqi clan, Xue Hantian. Kong Shinmu, come out. The supreme expert, Xue Hantian, was only targeting Kong Shinmu. The tsunami that filled the sky looked as though it could come crashing down on Kong Shinmu at any moment. The pressure from the two supreme powerhouses caused the atmosphere in the field to become extremely tense. Generally speaking, outsiders would not interfere with the situation within the ancient battlefield remains. No matter what happened in the relics, outsiders had no right to interfere. But Kong Shinmu had gone too far this time. Of course, Kong Shinmu had acted within the rules. The other party had attacked him out of humiliation because he was a sore loser. Why are you looking for me? Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes. He did not transform into his divine dragon body, because he knew that he could not fight this battle. Therefore, there was no need to transform into a dragon. He only raised his head and looked at Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian. He squinted his eyes and asked, as though he had no idea why they were looking for him. In Emperor Wa's relics, Kong Shinmu has stirred up trouble among the 5 major clans. He is a scourge. Lone Moon Jiao snorted, and the flames in the area rose to another level. Today, we must hand over Kong Shinmu and let the 5 major clans deal with him together. That's right. The Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe have suffered the greatest losses. Kong Shinmu must be handed over to us. The elder of the Talisman Water Tribe, Xueqi, said loudly, "If you do not agree, you will become enemies with our 2 tribes. Our 2 tribes will send our elites to hunt you down." They were aggressive, and their attitudes were extremely unyielding. "Hand me over to you? Say that I have stirred up trouble among the 5 major clans." Kong Shinmu could not help but laugh. "You have to ask if the dragon gods agree. It does not matter whether the dragon gods agree or not." Lone Moon Jiao's eyes were cold. The flames around him were like countless volcanoes that were about to erupt. As he said this, several space doors suddenly appeared around him. The space-time teleportation formation actually appeared in the area. The auras of several supreme experts came from the space-time teleportation formation. It was the Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe. They had actually set up an ambush here. At the same time, at the edge of the entire underground plaza, layers of space barriers suddenly rose up at this moment. The space array was activated. The Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe had actually prepared for this for a long time. Amazing. The supreme powerhouse of the demon god race could not help but gasp when he saw this. He hadn't expected this to happen. Moreover, the ancient Phoenix tribe did not expect this either. Although the dragon gods wanted to protect Kong Shinmu, they did not expect this situation. Most importantly, no one knew when Kong Shinmu would come out. As for the Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe, they had been planning this since half a year ago, waiting for Kong Shinmu to appear. It was completely unexpected. At this time, even Kong Shinmu's expression darkened. He did not expect the other party to be so prepared. The construction of the space-time teleportation formation in this underground space was obviously done in secret. The experts from the Dragon Gods, the Demon God Tribe, and the Ancient Phoenix Tribe outside were completely unaware. Moreover, under the obstruction of the space barrier, this underground square was already isolated from the outside world. The outside world could not enter, and the people inside could not leave. The Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe can come, but we can't, and there will be no reinforcements coming in. Yi Yin's expression changed. She also realized that the current situation was tricky. It seemed that the Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe had suffered too much in Emperor Wa's relic, and they did not hesitate to shed all pretense of cordiality to kill Kong Shinmu. The entire place had become a desperate situation against Kong Shinmu. I did not expect that I could make the 2 tribes put up such a formation to deal with me. Kong Shinmu did not expect the Talisman Water Tribe and the Thousand-Winged Snake Tribe to be so anxious to get rid of him. It seemed that the repeated incidents had made them realize how threatening he was. He was the one who stirred up trouble on the battlefield. Chapter 54-64. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' Kong Shinmu had expected to encounter such a situation, but he did not expect this day to come so soon. Moreover, this place was jointly guarded by the 5 clans. How could they build so many space-time teleportation formations under the noses of the other 3 clans? What do we do now? Liang Xiao followed behind Kong Shinmu. Looking at the 2 supreme experts from the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan, he was not afraid. Instead, there was fighting spirit in his eyes. Although he had not cultivated Emperor Wa's inheritance to a very powerful level, his mind had been tempered in the ancient dreamland that tested the heaven stairway. In particular, in the ancient mirage, all the demons they encountered were unparalleled super-powerful demons. Therefore, when he saw the pressure from the 2 supreme powerhouses, he didn't feel chilled. Gu Xinyue and the rest were in the same situation. They knew that if they fought head-on, they would not be a match for them. It was not because of the 2 supreme experts, Lone Moon Jiao and Xueqi. The key was the space-time teleportation formations. Who knew how many supreme experts were waiting at the other end of the formations? The rise of Kong Shinmu had already made the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan fearful. Moreover, what he had done in the Emperor Wa's inheritance relic had indeed caused the 2 clans to suffer heavy losses. Therefore, they did not hesitate to become the target of many clans in order to get rid of Kong Shinmu. After all, the rules of exploring the ancient ruins were set by many clans. Now that the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan were willing to break the rules to kill Kong Shinmu, the determination of the two clans could be seen. After this, the two clans would probably be targeted by many clans in the ancient battlefield. However, as long as they could get rid of Kong Shinmu, they felt that it was a good deal. It's not like we don't have reinforcements. Just when everyone was at a loss, Emoya suddenly said, "The space in this place is sealed. Within a day, the higher-ups of the dragon gods will definitely hear about it." Liang Zhao's eyes lit up. In other words, as long as we hold on for a day, the dragon gods will send help? That's right. Emoya smiled and nodded. Isn't that simple? Liang Zhao grinned and said, "Let's return to the relic of Emperor Nvuo's inheritance and hide in it. No matter how many supreme experts they send, they can't kill us." Humph. Hearing Liang Zhao's words, Xue Hantian, the supreme elder of the Fu Shui clan, snorted coldly. He glanced at the crowd and said, "If you dare to hide in the relic of Emperor Nvuo's inheritance, we will kill all the people of the Dragon God clan here. Kong Shinmu, you wouldn't want to see your clansmen killed because of you, would you?" These words were accompanied by a sneer. Obviously, since the other party had decided to make a move, they would not give Kong Shinmu the chance to hide again. "We only want to kill Kong Shinmu. The rest of you can leave." The supreme expert of the Thousand-Winged Snake race, Lone Moon Jiao, also said coldly and mercilessly, "Dragon God clan, where is the supreme general guarding this place?" At this time, Emoya suddenly stood out. Her words made Kong Shinmu feel a little strange. Yes, there should be a supreme expert in the Dragon God clan, but he had not shown up yet. Why didn't he show up? "I am here." As Emoya's voice fell, suddenly a supreme expert of the Dragon God clan in armor walked out of the crowd. He did not show any momentum, but everyone could tell that he was a supreme expert at a glance. This was a middle-aged man, who looked serious and said, "Everyone, they only want to kill Kong Shinmu. In today's situation, no matter what, we can't hold on for a day. With the existence of 5 space-time transmission formations, they can have more supreme experts to support them at any time. We can't resist them. Since they only want to kill Kong Shinmu, can Kong Shinmu be sacrificed?" When this middle-aged man of the Dragon God clan said this, he looked a little discouraged. It seemed that there was no other way at all. Hearing this, Emoya smiled faintly and said, "I remember you. Your name is Huang Rusong. From the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land. I heard that the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land, in the competition of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower, was triggered by the Dragon Soul Holy Tower because you formed a faction to target other holy lands, and your final ranking was only 82? That's really tragic. But all of this is what you deserve. If I remember correctly, the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land, where Kong Shinmu is a holy land that your Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land is targeting. In the end, because of Ran Ran, Kong Shinmu, and the others, the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land won an unimaginable ranking. Huang Rusong, are you jealous, so you want to take this opportunity to get rid of Kong Shinmu?" As soon as this was said, the expressions of Kong Shinmu and the others suddenly changed, and they looked at the supreme expert of the Dragon God clan. Who would have thought that the supreme expert guarding this place was actually Huang Rusong from the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land? Kong Shinmu had never heard of this Huang Rusong. But in the competition of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower, the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land had indeed targeted the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land more. In the competition between first-class and third-class disciples, the disciples of the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land had colluded with other holy lands to harm other holy lands. As a result, they were punished by the Dragon Soul Holy Tower, resulting in their final ranking of 82. It could be said to be rather tragic. There had always been some enmity between the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land and the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land. It was understandable that Huang Rusong was targeting Kong Shinmu like this. "Miss Emoya, why do you say that?" Huang Rusong's lips twitched when he heard Moya's words. He put on a fake smile and said, "I'm also thinking for everyone. If Kong Shinmu doesn't die, do you want all of us to die with him? You mean to say that we don't even need to fight and just admit defeat?" The corners of Emoya's lips curled up. "We might be able to hold out until a day later." "What a joke!" Huang Rusong sneered. "Emoya, do you think those 5 space-time transportation formations are just there to look at? How can we fight them with just the few of us? Are you really worried about those 5 space-time transportation formations? Emoya smiled faintly with confidence. Then why hasn't anyone come out from those 5 space-time transportation formations? As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of everyone present changed. What's going on? Why hasn't the reinforcements arrived yet? Lone Moon Jiao asked immediately. There's a spatial force that's isolating the 5 space-time transportation formations. Xue Hantian of the Talisman Water Tribe said with a cold expression. They sensed that the 5 space-time transportation formations were surrounded by a layer of domineering spatial force that enveloped them. In this way, the reinforcements from the other side of the space-time transportation formations couldn't possibly come here. Whose handiwork was this? Chapter 54-65. Emoya's white-robed figure floated like a fairy. At this moment, she seemed different from usual. She was still floating beside Kong Xinmu, but the supreme powerhouses present all knew her identity. She was a supreme cultivator of divine power. A super powerhouse belonging to the dragon gods. Divine energy was inextricably linked to space. At this moment, no one had noticed that she had actually used her own power to isolate the 5 surrounding space-time teleportation formations. Under careful observation, strands of divine power turned into a thick space barrier, surrounding the 5 space-time teleportation arrays as if they were firmly locked. I've isolated the 5 space-time teleportation arrays. Emoya whispered to Kong Xinmu. But someone needs to guard me. I cannot participate in the battle now, and I cannot be disturbed. This was the situation that Emoya told Kong Xinmu, and it was also a request. She needed Kong Xinmu to think of a way to help her block the others, and not let anyone disturb Emoya. Otherwise, the blockade of the 5 space-time teleportation arrays would collapse. After that, no one would be able to save Kong Xinmu. In other words, I need someone to help guard Senior Emoya. I also need someone to block Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian. Kong Xinmu's face darkened, and he glanced at the crowd. He roughly understood the situation in the field. First of all, the supreme powerhouse of the dragon gods, Huang Rusong, was not someone that Kong Xinmu could trust. He could be ignored. Of course, in public, Huang Rusong would not join forces with his opponents to deal with Kong Xinmu and the others. After all, the stance of the dragon gods was very basic. Besides that, there were 4 supreme powerhouses in the field. The supreme powerhouse of the Demon God clan, the supreme powerhouse of the Ancient Phoenix clan, and Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian. Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian definitely wanted to kill Kong Xinmu. And the supreme powerhouses of the Demon God clan and the Ancient Phoenix clan, if there were no accidents, should remain neutral. This situation was very disadvantageous to Kong Xinmu. However, Kong Xinmu had already thought of a countermeasure. Everyone from the Ancient Phoenix clan and the Demon God clan. Kong Xinmu immediately looked in the direction of the Demon God clan and the Ancient Phoenix clan, and solemnly said, "This time, we have finished exploring the legacy of Empress Hua. But there are still hundreds of layers of Emperor Hua's aura on us. There are more than 1,200 levels in total. If you're willing to help, I can transfer the aura of Emperor Hua in these 1,200 floors to the people of your 2 clans. If the 2 of you are willing to help, the number of supreme experts here will be 4 against 2. You just need to hold on for a day." Jiang Shenwu's words immediately caused the situation in the square to become complicated. Originally, if the Demon God race and the Ancient Phoenix race remained neutral, this would only be a matter between the Dragon God race and the other party. But now, there was no doubt that the conditions that Kong Xinmu offered were very tempting. With more than 1,200 layers of Emperor Hua's aura, if each person took 10 layers, 120 people could enter the central part of Emperor Hua's legacy. In that case, how many resources could they exchange for? The value was simply indescribable. However, at this moment, Kong Xinmu's life was on the line. The supreme experts of the Ancient Phoenix clan and the Demon God race would not agree to help so easily. The supreme expert of the Demon God race immediately stood up. "I am Mo Wuji." This was an elder of the Demon God race. After hearing Kong Xinmu's words, he stood up and said with a smile, "The aura of Emperor Hua's 1,200 layers is quite tempting. Unfortunately, if both of our clans were willing to help, wouldn't each side only get 600 layers?" "That's right. A middle-aged woman of the ancient Phoenix clan also looked at Kong Shinmu with a smile. I heard that little brother Kong Shinmu has a history with our clan's genius, Murong Lieni. However, the matter between our clans cannot just be based on friendship. Don't you think so? If the 1,200 layers of Emperor Nvoi's aura are given to our ancient Phoenix clan, we are willing to help. When these words were said, Kong Shinmu could only smile bitterly. These old foxes were indeed not so easy to make use of. Especially at this time when his life was on the line, it was the best time to bargain. Then I will. Kong Shinmu quickly thought of what benefits to give the other party. But at this time, Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian were unwilling to see Kong Shinmu continue to make a deal with the two clans. They understood that success or failure depended on this one move. At this moment, the 5 space-time teleportation arrays had been blocked by Mo Ya. If reinforcements could not come, then the matter of killing Kong Shinmu would fall on the two of them. This was their responsibility. They could not afford to fail in this matter, only succeed. Since that was the case, how could they let Kong Shinmu continue to make a deal with the Demon God clan and Ancient Phoenix clan? Do it! Xue Hantian, the elder of the Talisman Water clan, snorted coldly. The water god phantom on his body had already stirred up a monstrous wave that swept towards where Kong Shinmu was. His attack was overwhelming, enveloping Kong Shinmu, Mo Ya, and the rest. He could try to kill Kong Shinmu and disrupt Mo Ya's blockade of the space-time teleportation arrays. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Even if he could not kill Kong Shinmu due to some accident, he could definitely disrupt Mo Ya. As long as the 5 space-time teleportation arrays were released, Kong Shinmu would definitely die. The monstrous wave swept over. The sudden and terrifying power made Kong Shinmu and the rest almost unable to move. This was the first time they had truly faced the killing intent of a supreme expert. At this moment, their hearts trembled. This supreme being was too powerful. Although they had all seen it in the primordial battlefield's illusion, at that time, they had the bodies of the Supreme Emperor Wa clan, so they had not felt suppressed. But now, they were completely suppressed. Under the opponent's power, they could not even move. Too strong. However, at this moment, the elder of the Demon God clan, Mo Wuji, and the supreme middle-aged woman from the Ancient Phoenix clan both chuckled. The middle-aged woman from the Ancient Phoenix clan transformed into her Fire Phoenix form as she spoke. Lone Moon Jiao, Xue Hantian, we have not even finished our business, and you are already in such a hurry to make a move. Are you looking down on us? The Fire Phoenix body swept over and turned into a sea of fire midway, blocking Xue Hantian's waves. That's right. Cutting off one's path to wealth is like killing one's parents. Mo Wuji laughed heartily and immediately transformed into a towering demon body. He carried a giant purple wine gourd on his back and drank a mouthful of wine. Immediately, he spat out a mouthful of purple flames that enveloped Xue Hantian. Chapter 54-66. Cutting off one's path to wealth was like killing one's parents. To think that Mo Wuji from the demon god race could say such a thing. To him, Kong Shinmu was like the god of wealth. Just the 1,200 layers of Empress Wa's aura was enough to make him jealous. Although he could only split it equally with the ancient Phoenix race, it still represented a huge profit. So he made his move. Just like the middle-aged woman from the ancient Phoenix race, Mo Wuji could not watch as Kong Shinmu was killed. Even if they did not intend to help in the end, they had to listen to what Kong Shinmu could offer. This was a great opportunity to bargain. You! Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian were furious. They did not expect Kong Shinmu to make these two move with just a few words. At least, they would not be able to kill Kong Shinmu now. It's not too late to let us negotiate first. Mo Wuji chuckled and looked at Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian. Once our negotiations have failed, you can kill Kong Shinmu. I will not stop you. When Kong Shinmu heard this, he could not help but call him a sly old fox. This Mo Wuji and the middle-aged woman from the ancient Phoenix race had the same idea. If they did not rip off Kong Shinmu now, they would not have another chance in the future. And if they helped now, they would form a good relationship with Kong Shinmu. No matter what price Kong Shinmu offered, they would owe them a favor. The scene immediately became awkward. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at Kong Shinmu, their attention focused on him. Without a doubt, The situation now depended on what Kong Shin-mu could offer to get the help of the demon god race and the ancient phoenix race. Kong Shin-mu observed his surroundings. The situation in the field was rather complicated. The talisman water race and the thousand-winged snake race wanted to kill him. The demon god race and the ancient phoenix race could help him, but they needed enough benefits from him. There was also the dragon god clan. Although they were on the same side, the supreme expert in charge, Huang Rusong, was from the wild sand brilliant sword holy land. This guy was absolutely untrustworthy. Apart from Huang Rusong, the demon god race and the ancient phoenix race should be able to obtain help. In other words, it's 2 versus 2. Supreme powerhouses can be considered evenly matched. Since the demon god race and ancient phoenix clan have agreed to help, they should be able to tie down Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian. The other members of the demon god race and ancient phoenix race will also help block the other members of the talisman water race and thousand-winged snake race. Apart from a supreme powerhouse, there were at least 100 other powerhouses from each race present. Among the 100 strong fighters, there were supreme gods, but most of them were only peak emperor-level fighters. These people were also factors that needed to be considered. They absolutely could not be allowed to disturb Moya. Let's defend Moya. Kong Shin-mu turned back and said to Ran Ran and Gu Xinyue. Then, he turned back and said to Mo Wuji and the middle-aged woman from the ancient phoenix race, as long as the two of you help, I am willing to transfer 1,200 layers of Emperor Wa's aura to your people, so that they can explore the central region of Emperor Wa's legacy. In addition, I will give each side 10 precious materials as repayment. How about it? These dazzling materials are all produced in the heritage site of Emperor Envy Wa. They are all worth millions. Even supreme experts might need them. These dazzling materials could indeed be used by supreme powerhouses. Therefore, they were very valuable. However, from the standpoint of the race, 10 precious brilliant transformation materials were truly insignificant. Everyone's attention was focused on Mo Wuji and the middle-aged woman from the ancient phoenix race, waiting for their reply. Before they gave their reply, even Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian could not do anything. Because if they acted now, it would be clear that they had something against the ancient phoenix race and the demon god race. 10 is too little. Mo Wuji looked at Kong Shin-mu and smiled in a friendly manner. I have a condition. Why don't you listen to it, little brother Jiang? Other than the aura of Emperor Wa, I don't need you to give us anything else. I just want you to agree to 3 conditions. When the demon god race needs you, you, Kong Shin-mu, can help us 3 times. In other words, you have to agree to 3 conditions. When he said this, everyone's expression changed. Agree to 3 conditions? This was too high a regard for Kong Shin-mu. One had to know that these were conditions proposed from the standpoint of the race. In other words, the 3 conditions would be extremely beneficial to the demon god race. Just thinking about it, the demon god race would definitely let Kong Shin-mu work for them when they needed him the most. 3 conditions. This meant that the demon god race thought very highly of Kong Shin-mu. They believed that Kong Shin-mu could bring about great changes to the entire demon god race. It also meant that they believed in Kong Shin-mu's ability and trust in Kong Shin-mu's credibility. Now that Kong Shin-mu had agreed to their conditions, they were not worried that Kong Shin-mu would go back on his word. This was their trust in Kong Shin-mu's character. 3 conditions. Kong Shin-mu, they really think highly of you. Lone Moon Jiao snorted coldly and looked at Mo Wuji. He did not quite understand what Mo Wuji was thinking. No matter how strong Kong Shin-mu was now, he was only a peak emperor-level warrior. At most, he could break through to the transcendent god level in the future. Even if he was protected this time, what about the next time? Now, Kong Shin-mu has already offended our 2 races. The Talisman Water Race's elder, Shui Hantian, sneered. Mo Wuji, do you really think that this kid can live to help you do 3 things? This is the demon god race's matter. You don't have to worry about it, right? Mo Wuji's lips curled up. He did not care about Shui Hantian and Lone Moon Jiao at all. Instead, his gaze was focused on Kong Shin-mu. Kong Shin-mu began to consider 3 conditions. Although it was not a lot, it was still a threat. Of course, to Kong Shin-mu, this was nothing. After all, he was related to the demon god race's princess, Xueqi. To him, the demon god race was like his own family. It was just that to someone like Mo Wuji, He had to consider the race's position. Kong Shinmu glanced at Wuji and realized that there was a mischievous smile hidden in this guy's eyes. This guy knows about my relationship with Xueqi, right? Kong Shinmu could not help but think. Now, there were definitely not many people who knew about his relationship with Xueqi. In the Dragon God race there were very few who knew. In the Demon God race, only the upper echelons of the Demon God race knew about it. Moreover, the upper echelons of the Demon God race also knew that Jiang Shenwu had some unique information about the inheritance of the 16-winged heavenly demon god and had helped them a lot. The Demon God race's Su Yi had also once improved because of Kong Shinmu. If Mo Wuji knows about my relationship with Su Yi, then he will definitely step forward to help me. In other words, these three conditions of his are extortion. If the Demon God race is like this, then what about the ancient Phoenix race? Kong Shinmu immediately smiled bitterly. He looked at the middle-aged woman from the ancient Phoenix race. From her expression, he could see that she had a similar expression as Mo Wuji. It was the kind of expression that would definitely help Kong Shinmu. However, if he wanted to extort more benefits at this time, our ancient Phoenix race also has three conditions. This is not too much, right? Chapter 54-67. The Demon God race had three conditions, and the ancient Phoenix clan had three conditions. That added up to 6 conditions. But all of this was to save him. Even now, Moya was working hard to save him. Therefore, Kong Shinmu could not find any reason to refuse. And, working for the Demon God race and the ancient Phoenix clan was not too troublesome for Kong Shinmu. He even hoped that he could do something for the Demon God race. It had been a long time since he had seen Su Yi. Kong Shinmu missed her. If he could be with her when he was working for the Demon God race, that would be great. As long as your conditions are within my capabilities and will not harm the Dragon God race, I can agree. Kong Shinmu said solemnly. Good. Mo Wuji laughed heartily. His demonic body swept out and blocked in front of Jiang Shenwu. He turned around and faced the two supreme experts, Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian. The middle-aged woman from the ancient Phoenix clan also smiled. She flew side by side with Mo Wuji in her ancient Phoenix form. Suddenly she said, "That's right, I forgot to tell you. My name is Morong Suyi." Morong Suyi? Her surname was Morong? Kong Shinmu's expression changed. He felt as if he had been tricked. He was acquainted with Morong Lieni and had a rather close relationship with her. In fact, Morong Lieni's power even contained a portion of the devouring power. He did not expect that this middle-aged woman in front of him was called Morong Suyi. What was the relationship between her and Morong Lieni? Kong Shinmu could not guess, but since they both had the surname Morong, they must be related. She must also know that Kong Shinmu and Morong Lieni had a close relationship. Those three conditions were simply given for nothing. Even if she did not agree to those three conditions, Morong Suyi would definitely help Kong Shinmu. This made Kong Shinmu a bit annoyed, but he had no choice. Logically speaking, it was only right and proper for him to agree to the other party's conditions. Seeing Morong Suyi and Mo Wuji in front of Kong Shinmu, Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian's expressions darkened. They knew that the Demon God race and ancient Phoenix clan had earned big this time. Not only could they obtain 1,200 layers of Empress Wa's aura to continue exploring the ruins, but they could also ask Kong Shinmu to do 3 things for them. These 3 things might be harmful to the Talisman race and Thousand-Winged Snake race. But they could not stop them. These 3 things might be harmful to the Talisman race and Thousand-Winged Serpent race. After the supreme powerhouses of the Demon God clan and the ancient Phoenix clan took action, the powerhouses under them also took action. Regardless of whether they were peak Emperor level or Supreme God level cultivators, they all surrounded Jiang Shenwu and protected him in the center. Since Kong Shinmu had agreed to their conditions, they had to protect Kong Shinmu. Everyone could see that with Kong Shinmu's current development trend, his rise was unstoppable. As long as they could protect Kong Shinmu this time, then Kong Shinmu's strength would increase in the future. He would definitely be of great help to the Demon God race and ancient Phoenix clan. 3 requests was not a small number. When everyone was mobilized, Kong Shinmu heaved a sigh of relief. As for the supreme expert of the Dragon God clan, Huang Rusong, his expression changed again and again. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of Kong Shinmu. That would be an extremely good thing for the wild sand glorious sword sacred land. But he never imagined that the demon god race and ancient phoenix clan would be willing to help. Like this, it would be 3 against 2. In addition to Huang Rusong, other practitioners of the Dragon God clan also gathered at this time and guarded beside Jiang Shenwu. They understood that Jiang Shenwu was an important figure in the Dragon God clan. This time, he must have gained a lot of benefits from the inheritance of Emperor Envy. Besides, he had helped the Dragon God clan a lot before, which benefited the Dragon God clan a lot. Just from Emperor Wa's legacy relic, the treasures that they had obtained this time were comparable to what they had obtained in other relics. This was all thanks to Kong Shinmu. So the elites of the Dragon God race also gathered around Kong Shinmu to protect him. Only Huang Rusong, who was a little unwilling, turned into a dragon and flew near Mo Wuji and Murong Sui. He pretended to face Shui Hantian and Lone Moon Jiao. Because of this, Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian's expressions became even worse. 2 against 3. This was too miserable. It should have been a situation where they surrounded and killed Kong Shinmu, but it turned out like this. The key was that Moya had blocked the 5 space-time teleportation formations, so that the reinforcements from the 2 clans could not come, and they could not break the space-time shield, unless they could disturb Moya. But now that Moya was being protected, it was impossible for anyone to disturb her. If I had known this, I would have arranged for 2 more peerless experts to wait here, Lone Moon Jiao thought. But in fact, that was not possible. After all, peerless experts were very important. How could they wait here for Kong Shinmu? The main thing was that they did not know when Kong Shinmu would leave the relic. So, the 5 space-time teleportation formations were very safe. Who would have thought that he would fail miserably in such an easy task? But just as the situation was about to stabilize, Huang Rusong suddenly said, "Right, Kong Shinmu, this time in Emperor Wa's legacy relic, you obtained a lot, right? Did you get anything related to Emperor Wa's legacy? What does that have to do with you?" Kong Shinmu sneered and asked. It was incredible that Fu Shui clan and Thousand Wing Snake clan could build 5 space-time teleportation formations here under the protection of the 5 clans. God knew if Huang Rusong was involved in this. And it seemed that this person did not want to protect Kong Shinmu at all. Why should Kong Shinmu be polite to him? Humph. This is related to the Dragon God clan. As the general in charge of guarding this place, let me ask you a question. What's wrong with that? Huang Rusong put on airs and looked awe-inspiring. I didn't get anything related to the legacy. Kong Shinmu replied calmly. This was not a lie, because he did not get anything related to the legacy. Emperor Wa's legacy was obtained by others, and it had nothing to do with him. Anyway, report everything you got from this relic to me. Choose some and hand them over to the Dragon God clan. Huang Rusong sneered and said, After all, you also entered the relic with the Dragon God clan's quota, so the Dragon God clan has a reason to take a part of your gains. His words made Kong Shinmu realize that this person seemed to have a purpose. Even if those things were handed over to the Dragon God clan, it would not benefit Huang Rusong. Their only use was, once Kong Shinmu refused, he would have a reason not to help Kong Shinmu. Then when they fought later, it would be 2 against 2. If Huang Rusong did not pick a side, the situation would be hard to predict. This guy is insidious, and he even helped an outsider to kill me. He should be killed. Kong Shinmu's face darkened slightly, and he realized the danger of Huang Rusong. Chapter 5468. Logically speaking, Kong Shinmu's harvest in the relic belonged to him. As for the deal with the Dragon God clan later, it was also agreed by the Dragon God clan. Therefore, Kong Shinmu and the Dragon God clan did not owe each other anything, but according to Huang Rusong, Kong Shinmu still had to hand over a certain harvest. This was not because he wanted these harvests, but because he wanted to disgust Kong Shinmu. As long as Kong Shinmu did not agree, then he had a reason not to make a move and choose not to stand on the side. In this way, Kong Shinmu's crisis today was still a bit difficult to deal with. Huang Rusong, your actions this time have truly broadened my horizons. Moya glanced at Huang Rusong at this time and smiled faintly. After going back, I have to join your army. As you wish. Huang Rusong also looked indifferent. This old man will at most be punished for this matter. After all, this old man did things according to the rules, and there was nothing wrong with it. Miss Moya, what do you think? Senior, it's easy to think. Moya pursed her lips and smiled lightly. Have you ever thought that one day when Kong Shinmu also reaches the Supreme Realm, at that time, what kind of revenge will you and the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land behind you encounter? What's more, Kong Shinmu has already received the invitation of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. When he steps into the Supreme Realm, it will be the time for him to become a Dragon Soul Dragon Warrior. At that time, is there any need for your Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land to exist? When these words came out, Huang Rusong's expression changed slightly. Indeed, either he got rid of Kong Shinmu completely now, or wait to welcome the wrath of Kong Shinmu. Even if Kong Shinmu reached the Supreme Realm, he still would not pose any threat to Huang Rusong. After all, they were of the same clan, and Kong Shinmu could not attack him openly. However, once Kong Shinmu became a Dragon Soul Dragon Warrior, then he would be in big trouble. Dragon Soul Dragon Warrior. That was the direct Dragon Warrior of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. They were selected by the Dragon Souls of the ancestors of the Dragon God clan. That was a figure who stood at the top of the Dragon God clan. If he made any mistake, he could send Huang Rusong to the battlefield of the Outer Domain. It was normal for him to die in an accident in the battlefield of the Outer Domain. Thinking of this, Huang Rusong's expression became even gloomier. If that was really the case, then not only him, even the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land would be in for it. Therefore, Huang Rusong's face darkened. He probably felt that since he had already offended Kong Shinmu, he might as well go all the way and kill Kong Shinmu. In this way there would be no future. He raised his head and looked at Kong Shinmu. By the way, Kong Shinmu, I heard that you have an unclear relationship with the demon god race? He even sold our secrets to the demon god race. This is an act of betrayal. Today, I, Huang Rusong, will eradicate the traitor for the Dragon God clan. The crowd burst into an uproar when he said this. This Huang Rusong was actually so shameless. He forcefully said that Kong Shinmu was a traitor. Tell me, what secrets did I sell to the demon god race? Kong Shinmu could not help but laugh. This Huang Rusong was really shameless. He actually wanted to make a move against him. Just how big of a grudge was there? Kong Shinmu thought that he did not have much of a grudge with the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land, right? The Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land had specially set up the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land once. In the end they did not succeed. Instead, in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower competition, they were almost ranked last. Moreover, this had nothing to do with Kong Shinmu. It was all the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land's fault, and they were punished by the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. Kong Shinmu thought about it. This Huang Rusong was probably worried that his rise would cause the 5 Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land to have another supreme expert, so he wanted to get rid of him in advance. Since it's a secret, how can it be discussed in public? Huang Rusong said righteously. No matter what, Kong Shinmu, you must die today. A traitor must be punished. Soldiers of the Dragon God race, listen up. No one is allowed to protect Kong Shinmu. Otherwise, you will be punished as a traitor. As soon as he finished speaking, the cultivators of the Dragon God clan who were guarding Jiang Shenwu all had strange looks on their faces. They were still thinking that Kong Shinmu had made a great contribution to the Dragon God race, so they would definitely protect Kong Shinmu. But they did not expect General Huang Rusong to say that Kong Shinmu was a traitor. Looking at Kong Shinmu, it seems like he has a good relationship with the Demon God race and the Ancient Phoenix race. Yes, I can see that. Before they agreed to the deal, the supreme experts of the 2 races helped him and stopped the attack of the Talisman Water race and the Thousand-Winged Snake race. He also agreed to 3 requests from the 2 races. It seems that Kong Shinmu wants to betray the race. Yes, when the time comes, he will help the Demon God race and the Ancient Phoenix race do some shameful things. We can't say that he is sinister. These discussions began to spread among the Dragon God race cultivators. Originally, what Kong Shinmu did for the Dragon God race was not good for these people. Kong Shinmu had helped the Dragon God race obtain several more sacred items. It could be said that it had greatly increased the strength of the Dragon God race. But these people did not consider this at all. Instead, they began to think and guess according to Huang Rusong's words. All of this was because Huang Rusong was a supreme expert. His words naturally had a certain deterrent effect. Under such circumstances, many of the dragon god race cultivators retreated. Only the cultivators of the demon god race and the ancient phoenix race remained around Kong Shinmu to protect him. All of this made Mo Wuji and Murong Xueqi, the two supreme experts, dumbfounded. This could be done? This Huang Rusong was so shameless. Huang Rusong, you have shown me that there is no most shameless, only more shameless. When Kong Shinmu saw this, he sighed. This makes me wonder how the 5 teleportation formations in this place could be built without anyone noticing. You must have contributed to this, right? Mo Wuji and Murong Xueqi looked at Huang Rusong suspiciously. I said that I don't know this Huang Rusong. Our relationship is just though. A few days ago, this guy always dragged me to drink with him. Mo Wuji's wine devil form narrowed his eyes. From the looks of it, this fellow is trying to cover for the completion of the teleportation formation. Kong Shinmu, maybe Huang Rusong is not just targeting you, Murong Xueqi said calmly. Maybe the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race want to kill you, so they dragged Huang Rusong along. Huang Rusong saw that he could benefit from this, and he could kill you, so he did them a favor. I just didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. He has no choice but to pick a side. That's why he is so shameless. When this was said, the Dragon God race cultivators did not change their attitude. Instead, they felt that Kong Shinmu was even more suspicious. Kong Shinmu dared to accuse Huang Rusong of colluding with other races. And Mo Wuji and Murong Xueqi were speaking for Kong Shinmu. Chapter 5469. These ordinary cultivators of the Dragon God clan couldn't be blamed. After all, they had not interacted with Kong Shinmu much. They had always followed Huang Rusong and listened to his orders. In Empress Hua's legacy, Huang Rusong was the strongest dragon gods. He was a peerless expert, and he controlled everything. When Kong Shinmu came, he did not notice this person. After all, it was Mo Ya who dealt with him. Also, nothing had happened. Huang Rusong could not target Kong Shinmu even if he wanted to. But now, Huang Rusong had exposed everything. Very good, very good. Huang Rusong saw that all the people of the Dragon God clan had retreated and immediately nodded with satisfaction. And he would personally deal with Kong Shinmu. Mo Wuji and Murong Xueqi naturally had Lone Moon Jiao and Shui Hantian. And he, Huang Rusong, only needed to disturb Mo Ya. If the 5 space-time teleportation formations barriers were broken, the Fu Shui race and Thousand-Winged Snake race would arrive. The situation would become one-sided. No matter how Kong Shinmu roped in the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix race, it would be useless. This is troublesome. That Huang Rusong is too hateful. He's helping an outsider to attack his own people. When Gu Xinyue saw this, she felt that it was simply unbelievable. Huang Rusong's reason was irrefutable. On the surface, Kong Shinmu did have a good relationship with the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix race. But this was the truth. Kong Shinmu did not do anything to harm the dragon gods. No matter. Kong Shinmu saw this and squinted. He was not worried. He lifted his head and looked at the old man from the Talisman Water race, Shui Hantian. The Fu Shui race was an opponent he could use against. Shui Hantian, have you forgotten that your Talisman Water tribe still has an important person in my hands? Kong Shinmu said indifferently, Princess Qi Yan of the Fu Shui tribe, come out and meet everyone. As soon as he finished speaking, Kong Shinmu waved his hand and released Princess Qi Yan from the minor world in the starry sky. This golden-haired princess of the Fu Shui race had been captured by Kong Shinmu in the Outland battlefield, and he had been preparing to use her as a hostage. Now it finally came in handy. Kong Shinmu, you finally dare to let me out. Princess Qi Yan's temper flared up the moment she came out. She was the princess of the Fu Shui race, and her status was incomparably noble. However, since Kong Shinmu had locked her up for such a long time, she couldn't do anything about it. She'd originally thought that the imperial family of the Fu Shui tribe would save her soon, but she'd never expected that she'd still be locked up in the small world by Kong Shinmu. In reality, it wasn't that the royalty of the Fu Shui race didn't care about her. It was just that she really didn't have a chance. Kong Shinmu had been in the great world of the dragon gods all this time, and the Fu Shui tribe hadn't been able to force their way in, let alone retreat now. This time, Kong Shinmu had appeared in Emperor Hua's inheritance relic, and he'd been holed up inside, so the experts of the Fu Shui tribe couldn't enter. Therefore, the golden-haired Princess Qi Yan had been locked up until now. This had probably been going back and forth for a little over a year. She'd been bored to death. After being locked up, she wasn't even willing to cultivate, so she'd sulked at Kong Shinmu. Who would have thought that Kong Shinmu wouldn't pay any attention to her? Then, she tried to cultivate in the small world in the starry sky. Although the small world didn't have the inheritance power of the Fu Shui tribe, there was still a lot of heaven and earth spirit qi. To her, absorbing heaven and earth spirit qi to comprehend might not be able to increase the grade of her inheritance, but it could still allow the Fu Shui tribe's water god martial techniques to break through to a higher realm. During this period of time, the water god martial techniques she'd cultivated had all reached the standard of the sage level, and some had even reached the supreme sage level. To her, this was a good day for her to calm down and cultivate. However, after all, she'd still been imprisoned, and it made her feel extremely sullen and unhappy. Now that she'd finally been released, the moment she opened her mouth, she scolded Kong Shinmu. After scolding, she realized that the situation didn't seem right. What's going on? Xue Hantian? She looked around and found the supreme expert of the Fu Shui tribe, Xue Hantian, whom she knew. At the same time, she understood the situation around her. But she couldn't figure out why the supreme expert of the Dragon God tribe seemed to be targeting Kong Shinmu. Princess. When Xue Hantian saw Qi Yan, his expression finally changed. To be honest, Xue Hantian targeting Kong Shinmu today had a purpose, and that was for Princess Qi Yan. Princess Qi Yan had been captured by Kong Shinmu, and there had been no news of her all this time. Today, he finally saw her again. Originally, he'd wanted to wait until Kong Shinmu was about to die before forcing Kong Shinmu to release Princess Qi Yan. But unexpectedly, the situation kept changing. At this time, Kong Shinmu took the initiative to release Princess Qi Yan. What's going on? Princess Qi Yan looked at Kong Shinmu suspiciously. It's what you see. Jiang Shenwu glanced at her and faintly said, Your talisman water race and the thousand-winged snake race besieged me and wanted to kill me. I called upon the demon god race and the ancient phoenix race as helpers. We were originally evenly matched, but unfortunately, there was a traitor in my dragon god race. That Supreme Huang Rusong allied with you and wanted to kill me. So, we could only use you as a hostage. Hostage. Princess Qi Yan finally understood the general situation, and she couldn't help but grit her teeth in anger. As expected, she was a hostage. She knew that when she could come out of that small world, the Fu Shui tribe would threaten Kong Shinmu. Now, it seemed that it was indeed so. Xue Hantian, as long as the Fu Shui tribe remains neutral today and doesn't attack me, I will return your princess to you tomorrow, untouched. Kong Shinmu directly stated his conditions. He only needed 1 day. If the reinforcements of the Dragon God tribe didn't arrive in 1 day, then there was nothing he could do. Kong Shinmu could only consider hiding in Emperor Hua's inheritance relic. If he wasn't there, Huang Rusong couldn't watch the other disciples of the Dragon God tribe be slaughtered. So as long as he wasn't there, Huang Rusong had no reason to join forces with the Fu Shui tribe and the thousand-winged snake tribe. So, Kong Shinmu had a way out. He would wait for 1 day. If reinforcements didn't arrive, then he would make other plans. Of course, 1 day was enough for the Dragon God tribe to react and send reinforcements. When Xue Hantian heard Kong Shinmu's conditions, he immediately laughed coldly. Why should I believe you? As long as you return the princess to me, I guarantee that the Fu Shui tribe won't attack you today. How about it? I am a supreme expert, and I mean what I say. Do you believe me? When he said this, Kong Shinmu and Xue Hantian looked at each other and laughed coldly. Chapter 5470. If Kong Shinmu handed over Princess Qi Yan first, after the golden-haired princess was safe, there would be no need for him to keep his promise. This time, the Fu Shui tribe had mobilized a large force and even built 5 space-time teleportation formations. How could they let Kong Shinmu escape so easily? If it was just to save a princess, there was no need to do so. Therefore, Kong Shinmu believed that the Fu Shui tribe was determined to kill him. Therefore, he could not hand over Princess Qi Yan first. And the other party did not seem to intend to let Kong Shinmu go just because of Princess Qi Yan. Even if Princess Qi Yan was in Kong Shinmu's hands, the other party would definitely attack Kong Shinmu. Therefore, Kong Xinmu found it hard to believe that Princess Qi Yan could not be used as a hostage against the Fu Shui tribe. Princess Qi Yan's importance could not be compared to the other party's desire to kill him. Since that's the case, do it. Jiang Shenwu indifferently said to Xue Hantian, I'm just afraid that after your Princess Qi Yan dies, she will never be able to understand why all of you insist on killing me. You don't want her life anymore. At this point, there was nothing more that needed to be said. Princess Qi Yan was dumbfounded. She had thought that Xue Hantian was here to save her. But looking at the situation now, it seemed that Xue Hantian was here to kill Kong Xinmu. Saving him was just a matter of convenience. If he really couldn't save him, he would have no choice but to kill Jiang Shenwu first. What did you do to make my tribe hate you so much? Why do we have to kill you? Princess Qi Yan looked at Kong Xinmu speechlessly. All she could think of was that Kong Xinmu had disrupted the war between the Fu Shui tribe and the Dragon God tribe. She could not think of anything else. How could she think of what Kong Xinmu had done in Emperor Hua's legacy relic? A person who is about to die, there is no need to ask so much, right? Kong Xinmu looked at her. You really plan to kill me? Qi Yan clearly shrank back. She was originally a girl who was not afraid of the immensity of heaven and earth, but now, she truly felt some fear towards Jiang Shenwu. What else? Kong Xinmu narrowed his eyes. As long as I die, I will definitely kill you before I die. Of course I will not die so easily. Don't worry. Right now, 3 supreme experts want to kill you. How can you live? Princess Qi Yan looked around in disbelief. She could not believe that Kong Xinmu would be able to live in such a situation. Xinyue, it is time. Gu Xinyue, Yu Hantian said. Gu Xinyue chuckled. All right, we've seen enough of the show. Gu Xinyue Tian and Tian. I Qi Yan, I spirit Jiu Qi. Qi to say, I mu is. 4 for 4. From the looks of it, the situation wasn't quite right. Kong Xinmu seemed to have something up his sleeves. Attack. Do not let him use any tricks, and do not let him escape back to the ruins. Lone Moon Jiu snorted. 1,000-winged snake race's inheritance power burst out. However, Mo Wuji merely smiled and stood in front of Lone Moon Jiao. The Supreme Wine Devil's power condensed into rays of purple light and enveloped Lone Moon Jiao's entire body. The two of them started fighting. As for Xue Hantian, his waves were unable to get past Murong Suyi's purple flames. The two of them also started fighting. Huang Rusong could only fight Kong Xinmu alone. The cultivators from the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix race were protecting Kong Xinmu. They had received orders from Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi to protect Kong Xinmu with their lives. They knew Kong Xinmu's value. Luckily, they were not enemies with Kong Xinmu. As long as Kong Xinmu was alive, he would do 3 things for his race. These were very important. Maybe Kong Xinmu could become a dragon martial artist in the future. Those 3 things were very special. So, they swore to protect Kong Xinmu. Even if they were facing the Dragon God race's supreme expert, Huang Rusong. Huang Rusong saw this and sneered. Everyone, look. Kong Xinmu is about to die. But these cultivators from the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix race are still not retreating. From this, we can see that Kong Xinmu is in cahoots with them. No matter how good the 2 races were, it was not enough for their cultivators to protect Kong Xinmu like this, right? This was the situation in the eyes of the other dragon gods. And if it was because of the good relationship between the 2 races, the Demon God race and the Ancient Phoenix race should be neutral. After all, Huang Rusong targeting Kong Xinmu was an internal matter of the dragon gods. But now, in order to protect Jiang Shenwu, the cultivators of the 2 clans had chosen to fight Huang Rusong to the death. In a head-on clash, they would definitely suffer heavy losses. Huang Rusong would probably kill or injure dozens of people with a single move. In this way, the relationship between the dragon gods and the 2 races would deteriorate. At that time, which side would Kong Xinmu stand on? The cultivators of the dragon gods were all thinking. Now they felt that there was something wrong with Huang Rusong, but before the matter was investigated, they were not willing to help Kong Xinmu. After all, that would offend Huang Rusong. No matter how strong Kong Xinmu was, he was only a peak emperor level, but Huang Rusong was a supreme expert. If they offended Huang Rusong, their future days would not be easy. So, all the cultivators of the dragon gods remained neutral. Kong Shinmu, let's see what else you can do. Huang Rusong sneered. He turned into a dragon and charged at Kong Shinmu. His supreme aura was like a terrible natural disaster. The power of the wild sand sword exploded and went straight for Moya. Now, Moya had many people protecting her. But as long as he disturbed Moya, the barriers of the 5 space-time teleportation formations would be broken. Then he would not need to do anything else. He did not kill Kong Shinmu. If the ones who killed Kong Shinmu were the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Wing Snake Race, then Huang Rusong would have some leeway. Jiang Shenwu, if you dare to kill our clan's princess, everyone around you will die one by one. As Xue Hantian and Murong Sui fought, he still had time to shout. I'm sorry, but today the one who will die will not be me. Kong Shinmu said calmly, so your threat is useless against me. If I don't die, I won't kill Princess Qi Yan. As he said that, Gu Xinyue waved her hand. A gem-like token of Emperor Hua flew out of her arms. At the same time, the token released a light that connected to Emperor Hua's heritage relic. At that moment, the entrance to Emperor Hua's heritage relic shook. Huang Rusong was shocked. He knew that Kong Shinmu really did have something to do with Emperor Hua's heritage relic. I have to finish this quickly. Moya, look here. He turned into a wild sand sword dragon. Countless wild killing auras condensed into a huge sword that slashed at Moya. But at that moment, a beam of light flew out of Emperor Hua's heritage relic. Chapter 5471. Huang Rusong's divine dragon body suddenly collapsed. This scene shocked everyone on the spot. Even the 4 supreme superiors who had been fighting together stopped fighting and stared at where Huang Rusong was in shock. With one strike, a supreme superior expert was defeated. What kind of power was this? And this power, which obviously came from the inheritance of Emperor Hua, could be exerted by the woman beside Kong Shinmu. Could it be that the woman had already obtained the important thing of Emperor Hua's inheritance? Would the Emperor Hua divine clan choose that woman as their inheritor? This was an important piece of information. This piece of information was even more important than the death of a supreme superior expert of the Dragon Gods. Once a member of the Dragon Gods obtained the inheritance of Emperor Hua, there would be 2 consequences. It was possible that this woman would part ways with the Dragon Gods and develop another Emperor Hua divine clan. Of course, it was more likely that the Dragon Gods would focus on cultivating this woman. Under the protection of the Dragon Gods, this woman would become another super strong pillar of the Dragon Gods. No matter which result it was something that other races needed to pay attention to. Compared with the shock of the others, Kong Shinmu was very distressed. He had always wanted to prevent Gu Xinyue from using this method, so he had been negotiating with her. Now that he had no other choice, he could only exert this method to kill Huang Rusong in an instant. One had to know that a power that could instantly kill a supreme powerhouse, what kind of level of power was that? Even for the inheritance of Emperor Hua, it was a very precious power. Even though Gu Xinyue was able to use this power, it was already all the power that she could mobilize at her disposal. If she didn't exert all her power, she was afraid that she couldn't kill Huang Rusong or even seriously injure him. Then everything would be in vain. Now, seeing that Huang Rusong was directly killed by this power, Gu Xinyue breathed a sigh of relief, although she was shocked. The inheritance of Emperor Hua divine clan is quite comprehensive. Kong Shinmu sighed and explained to the shocked Moya, in order to prevent his successor from being killed as soon as he goes out, he prepared a force for his successor that is enough to kill a supreme expert. Of course. Obviously, Huang Rusong's battle strength is not that great. Compared with the supreme experts that Emperor Hua's divine clan has imagined, he is much weaker. As a result, he was killed by one strike. Huang Rusong's strength was on the weaker side. Otherwise, this move would at most heavily injure his opponent. This was all the power that Gu Xinyue could use, which belonged to the legacy of Emperor Hua. The rest of the power was still needed to maintain the operation of the entire legacy site. This was the strongest part of the legacy site. Unfortunately, it could not be used to help Gu Xinyue kill the enemies outside. Jiang Shenwu, he ordered someone to kill the Supreme General, Lord Huang Rusong. This is a real traitor. A traitor! A traitor! Many people of the Dragon Gods clan looked at this scene and suddenly exclaimed in shock. One by one, They looked at Jiang Shenwu's expression as if they were looking at a heinous person. However, when Kong Shinmu glanced at these people, they all lowered their heads and dared not to look at him. Kong Shinmu snorted coldly. Huang Rusong wanted to kill me. Why can't I kill him? What happened today is all because of Huang Rusong. If he did not target me, he would be fine. If you say that I am a traitor, you can go to the Dragon Soul Holy Tower for arbitration. With that, Jiang Shenwu turned his head and faced Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian. He said in a serious tone, "Can the two of you give up now? It is not that easy to kill me. If you still refuse to come to your senses, I'll kill the two of you here no matter how great my exhaustion is." If Kong Shinmu had said he would kill Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian, everyone would have laughed at him for overestimating himself. But now, Huang Rusong was dead. This meant that Kong Shinmu had the power to kill a superior. If he could kill one, he could kill the second. Under Mo Wuji's and Murong Sui's threatening eyes, Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian's faces darkened. They did not dare to take this risk. If they died here, it would not be worth it. Fortunately, Kong Shinmu's people had killed Huang Rusong. If this was handled properly, they could still kill Kong Shinmu. Of course, as outsiders, they could not interfere with the internal affairs of the Dragon Gods clan. They didn't even have any influence on Jiang Shenwu's judgment and arbitration. But they could influence the opinions of the Dragon Gods clan. No matter which race it was, there were spies in the Dragon Gods clan. These spies might not have high positions, but they lived among the people. They could influence the opinions of the people. As long as the entire Dragon Gods clan was against Kong Shinmu and felt that Kong Shinmu was a traitor, then Kong Shinmu would be targeted by the entire Dragon Gods clan. Even if he was not punished, he would not be able to raise his head in the entire Dragon Gods clan. As time passed, Kong Shinmu might leave the Dragon Gods clan. Lone Moon Jiao and Xue Hantian looked at each other and nodded at the same time. It seemed like they had reached an agreement. Both of them were treacherous and cunning old foxes. Naturally, they could see the situation before them clearly. If that is the case, I will not kill you today. Why not let you live? Lone Moon Jiao snorted and retreated. The cultivators of the Thousand-Winged Snake clan retreated with him. Xue Hantian, the elder of the Talisman Water Race, glanced at the golden-haired Princess Qi Yan beside Jiang Shenwu and retreated helplessly. If he had known that he could not kill Kong Shinmu today, he would have lured the princess back first. But if he had not acted, he might not have forced Kong Shinmu to kill Huang Rusong. So it could only be said that Princess Qi Yan could not be saved today. Huang Rusong's death was the end of this. I wanted to kill Lone Moon Jiao or Xue Hantian, but they were too far away, and they were fighting with Mo Wuji and Murong Sui. I was afraid that if I killed the wrong person, it would be bad. Gu Xinyue sighed. She was a little annoyed. Now that Huang Rusong is dead, aren't we traitors of the clan? Although the 5 great races are present, the Demon God race and the Ancient Phoenix clan won't be able to help us in this matter. Yi Yin was also worried. He looked around and saw many cultivators of the Dragon God clan pointing at them. After we go back this time, I'm afraid we will be criticized by others. Also, the Dragon Soul Holy Tower will definitely start an arbitration. So what? Kong Shinmu shook his head and said firmly, "We did not do anything wrong. Don't worry about the consequences. If we did not kill Huang Rusong, I would have died today. You would not have been able to escape either. In this world, whoever was strong had the right to speak. Right now, Kong Shinmu was only a peak emperor. So, the people of the Dragon God race felt that it was wrong of him to kill Huang Rusong with his inheritance. What if he was a peerless expert? Would Huang Rusong dare to do that to him?" Chapter 5472. No matter what, Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue had killed Huang Rusong. This was a fact. Although it could be counted as self-defense, in the eyes of others, he was a traitor to his race for killing a supreme expert. Especially when the situation was more complicated, and there were people from the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix clan helping him. This was even more inexplicable. Although the Demon God race and Ancient Phoenix clan did not help Kong Shinmu kill Huang Rusong, the situation was indeed suspicious. Of course, Kong Shinmu was not afraid of such gossip. The space-time teleportation array is closed. At this time, Emoya looked at Kong Shinmu and told him the news softly. Kong Shinmu looked around and found that the 5 space-time teleportation arrays were indeed closed. The power of space weakened until it finally disappeared. These are all one-time use space-time teleportation arrays. The resources used to build them are less than 1% of the complete array. Once they are closed, they can no longer be opened. After saying all this, Moya withdrew the spatial barrier she had created. At this point, the space-time teleportation array was useless. To the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan, although they had not killed Kong Shinmu, they had allowed Kong Shinmu to kill Huang Rusong. Huang Rusong was a supreme expert of the dragon god race. The supreme experts of every race were the leaders of a region and extremely important figures. But now, Huang Rusong had died at the hands of his own people. He had died at the hands of the woman beside Kong Shinmu, who had obtained the power of Emperor Wa's legacy relic. To the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan, this was an acceptable result. After all, the dragon god race was their greatest enemy. For their entire race, it was better to have one less supreme expert. Although Kong Shinmu had disgusted them, he was only at the peak of the emperor level. He was still far from reaching the combat power of a race. There would always be a chance to kill Kong Shinmu in the future. Although after this incident, Kong Shinmu would definitely be more careful, there would always be a chance, wouldn't there? Unless Kong Shinmu never left the great world of the dragon gods before he reached the supreme level. Even if Jiang Shunwu had become a supreme superior, his battle prowess wouldn't be that strong when he had just broken through. They still had a chance to kill him. At the entrance of the legacy of Emperor Nva, the 5 species dispersed again. Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi followed behind Kong Shinmu. They didn't give anyone a chance to assassinate them. In fact, with Mo Ya and Kong Shinmu together, ordinary people couldn't assassinate Kong Shinmu. But Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi were still very careful. During this period, the 2 supreme powerhouses were very friendly towards Kong Shinmu. Clearly, they saw Kong Shinmu's potential. Kong Shinmu still owed them 3 favors. They couldn't let a treasure like Kong Shinmu be killed. To them, Kong Shinmu was their treasure. 3 requests. This was no joke. Based on what Jiang Shunwu had done so far, it would most likely affect the relationship between the various races in the future. As for the other members of the dragon gods, they stayed in their own camps. When they saw Kong Shinmu return with the supreme experts of the demon gods and the ancient Phoenix clan, they couldn't help but be afraid. But in their eyes, they had a lot of opinions about Kong Shinmu. They just didn't dare say it. Right now, Kong Shinmu had 3 supreme experts with him. How could they dare say anything? But when the reinforcements of the dragon gods arrived, the situation changed. The death of the guardian general, Huang Rusong, was immediately detected by the higher-ups. Every supreme expert's name was recorded, and there was a spiritual venerables memorial tablet. Huang Rusong was dead, and many experts were sent over to investigate. In this group, there were a total of 9 supreme masters. Among them, Emperor Shi was among them. The 9 supreme experts didn't lead anyone else. They went straight to the entrance of Emperor Wa's legacy relic and saw everyone there. It's Emperor Shi. Emperor Shi is here. Do you know how strong a hero Emperor Shi is? He actually has a disciple like Kong Shinmu. Not bad. He killed his own people and a supreme expert at that. He's too evil. Many cultivators of the Dragon God clan in the camp of the Dragon God clan rushed forward. This was the Dragon God's own business. Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi knew that no matter how much they wanted to protect Kong Shinmu, they couldn't stay with Kong Shinmu anymore. The more they stood up for Kong Shinmu, the worse the situation would get. So when they sensed the arrival of the 9 unrivaled experts, Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi's expressions became serious. They followed Kong Shinmu to the front hall. Raising his head, he saw 9 supreme cultivators, including Emperor Shi and the Divine Dragon. Emperor Shi was dressed in red, and her face was expressionless. When she saw Kong Shinmu, she breathed a sigh of relief. Clearly, she was worried about Kong Shinmu's safety. But the others all had different expressions. The other 8 supreme experts of the dragon gods were all like Emperor Shi's Divine Dragon. They all had frightening power. The arrival of the 9 supreme experts made it hard for people to breathe. They looked at Huang Rusong's body in the middle of the Dragon God clan's camp. They were shocked and angry. Obviously, some people had a good relationship with Huang Rusong, And some people had nothing to do with Huang Rusong, but they were also very surprised by Huang Rusong's death. Since you are here, we will leave first. Mo Wuji stepped forward and greeted the 9 supreme experts. He grinned and said, "This time the dragon gods owe us a favor. If it weren't for me and the Murong girl, the one who died would not have been Huang Rusong, but Kong Shin Mu." He was so arrogant in front of the 9 supreme experts, and he didn't care? The faces of some dragon god clan cultivators in the field changed again and again. This was the camp of the dragon gods. How could the demon god race not be nervous at all when facing 9 superior dragon god race experts? In fact, this was the view of the supreme experts. They were different from ordinary cultivators. The supreme experts' view was all about the race. But the other ordinary cultivators did not have such foresight. "Thank you," Emperor Shi's divine dragon said calmly. She was sincerely thanking them, but she would not show it too much. After all, their help was definitely not unconditional. She knew too well how cunning these old foxes could be. She was afraid that her disciple had been forced to agree to their conditions. Chapter 54-73. Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi left. The 9 supreme experts did not make things difficult for them. Some of them even seemed to be chatting happily with them. They seemed quite harmonious. This was only natural. The 3 races were on good terms with each other and cooperated with each other in many areas. So, Mo Wuji and Murong Suyi's actions would not displease the leaders of the dragon gods. As for the Talisman Water Clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake Clan, their people had left long ago. They were enemies with the Dragon God Clan. Now that they had done such a thing, they were naturally afraid that the experts of the Dragon God Clan would arrive and kill them all. If that happened, they would have nowhere to cry. After all, they had broken the rules of the relic exploration first. This time, the Fu Shui race and the Thousand-Winged Snake race broke the rules and attacked the dragon gods in the relic. We will publicize this so that all the races know what they have done. After Emperor Shi arrived, he looked around and spoke to all the cultivators of the dragon gods. All the cultivators of the dragon gods half bowed to Emperor Shi to show their respect. She was dressed in a red robe and had yet to transform into a dragon. However, the hidden might she exuded was enough to intimidate everyone present. The other 8 supreme cultivators of the Dragon God Clan all followed behind Emperor Shi. Obviously, Emperor Shi was the leader of this trip. Emperor Shi's first sentence undoubtedly struck a chord in the hearts of everyone present. No matter what Kong Shinmu had done, the cause of this was the Fu Shui race and the Thousand-Winged Snake race. Therefore, if this matter was made public, it would definitely cause the Talisman Water Clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake Clan to suffer the consequences. Their clans would be seen by the other clans, and under such circumstances, it was very likely that their exploration of the ruins in other places would be affected. Many relic sites are explored by 5 races together. This time, the Fu Shui race and the Thousand-Winged Snake race attacked a junior outside the relic. They violated the agreement between the races. According to the agreement, those who violate the agreement will be expelled from the Relic Exploration Alliance. They are strong races, so the consequences might not be that serious. But at least they will lose a lot of things. If they want to keep the rights to explore the important relic sites, they will have to work hard. Among the supreme experts, they were all discussing. The Talisman Aqua Clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake Clan had naturally suffered great losses this time. Originally, they wanted to kill Kong Shinmu, but in the end, they caused the death of Huang Rusong. It could be considered as a freak combination of factors. They didn't achieve their goal, but they could still bring a lot of trouble to the Dragon God Clan. This meant that the actions of the Talisman Water Race and Thousand-Winged Serpent Race weren't for nothing. But this was only for now. In the long run, the 2 clans had already left such a bad reputation. In the Relic Exploration Alliance, it would be difficult for them to gain the trust of others. In the distribution of benefits, they would definitely suffer some losses. As for how much they would lose, it would depend on the diplomatic skills of the 2 races. But no matter how good their diplomatic skills were, they would still lose a lot of things. This was a kind of subtle loss, and it was even difficult to measure how great this loss was. Of course, the losses of others had nothing to do with him. Now, most of the people present were still most concerned about their own Dragon God Clan. Huang Rusong had been killed. The woman beside Kong Shinmu had killed Huang Rusong with the power of the relic. How were they going to be judged? As for Huang Rusong's death, it will all be decided by the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. As for Gu Xinyue and Kong Xinmu, the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower will definitely give them a fair trial. When Emperor Shi said this, she didn't mean to side with Kong Xinmu. But when she glanced at Kong Xinmu and winked at him, her meaning was more obvious. Whether it was Kong Xinmu or Gu Xinyue, nothing would happen to them. Mo Ye directly flew forward and whispered something in the ear of Emperor Shi. She must have told her some details of what had happened here. Soon, Emperor Shi nodded confidently. She believed that what Mo Ye said was the absolute truth. Then, according to what Mo Ye said, the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower would definitely not judge Kong Xinmu and Gu Xinyue guilty. She was very familiar with the decision of the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. Moreover, the Wild Sand Shining Sword Sacred Ground had already left a bad impression on the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. They would even deduct points for Huang Rusong. Originally, I still suspected that Huang Rusong had colluded with the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race. But now that he is dead, the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race will not tell us the truth. Mo Ye shook her head and said softly, "It seems that the truth can only be buried. Did he collude with the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race to open the door for them to build the teleportation formation? This was still more important. If Huang Rusong really colluded with the two races, then Kong Xinmu's actions were not only not wrong, but also meritorious. No matter what, the trial was a process that had to go through. Let's go back." Emperor Shi flew to Kong Xinmu's side and smiled at him. "How was it? Did you gain a lot from this trip? I heard that your ability has brought the Dragon God clan several treasures of heaven and earth. Just these saint-grade items alone are worth more than a single Huang Rusong." Seeing how relaxed she sounded, Kong Xinmu knew that the situation should not be serious. The so-called trial should be just a formality. Under the leadership of Emperor Shi, everyone set off on the way back. As for the 8 supreme experts that she brought, they were at the entrance of Emperor Wa's legacy relic to deal with the follow-up matters. The Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race could not be allowed to participate in the legacy relic of Emperor Wa. And even if they were allowed to come again, they would not get any benefits at all. In the past half a year or so, since Kong Xinmu came here, the two races had been in the legacy relic of Emperor Wa like it was a year. Not to mention benefits, it was already good enough that they could leave the relic safely. The two clans had worked so hard for a long time to collect the chi of Emperor Envy Wa. However, all the chi of Emperor Envy Wa had been robbed by Jiang Shenwu. No wonder the two clans wanted to kill Jiang Shenwu so much. Dragon Soul Holy Tower. Kong Xinmu followed Emperor Shi back to the Dragon God Race's macro world and went to the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. Prepare for the trial. At the same time, outside the relic of the chaotic battlefield, Kong Xinmu actually killed Huang Rusong, a supreme expert of his own race, in front of outsiders. This matter quickly spread throughout the Dragon God Race's macro world. Because the spies of the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race were already operating in the Dragon God Race's macro world. This time, the two clans had suffered heavy losses. Even more than the Dragon God clan had lost Huang Rusong. Chapter 54-74. In the great world of the Dragon Gods, the rumors about Kong Xinmu's betrayal became more and more intense. It seemed that Kong Xinmu would be killed verbally. However, Kong Xinmu and Gu Xinyue did not encounter any inappropriate treatment in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. The Dragon Soul Sacred Tower even provided a good place for them to cultivate. This was one of the central levels of the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. This was one of the levels specially used to receive guests. Kong Xinmu and Gu Xinyue were in the courtyard on this level. Not only did they eat and drink well, but they also had a better cultivation environment than the 7th-grade disciples of the Holy Land of Five Extremes Mysterious Ice. Especially the energy of the Dragon Mark, which was even more abundant in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. It seems that the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower is very clear about what happened at the heritage site of Emperor Wa. Kong Xinmu looked around. This place had a beautiful environment and rich energy of the Dragon Mark. It was the perfect place for cultivation. It seems that the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower does not think that we are guilty of betrayal. Gu Xinyue pursed her lips and smiled. She was very happy to be alone with Kong Xinmu now. Usually, there were not many opportunities to be alone with Kong Xinmu. On the way back from the chaotic battlefield, there were always other people around them. Emperor Xi, the divine dragon, and Emoya had an indescribable temperament that made people not dare to get too close to them. After all, these two were supreme super-existences. Compared to them, Gu Xinyue still felt a little inferior. Of course, she was now the person who controlled the heritage of Emperor Hua, so she did not need to belittle herself. What she lacked compared to Emperor Xi, the divine dragon, and Emoya was not talent or anything else, but time. The time between the two did not pass too quickly. Kong Xinmu and Gu Xinyue were waiting for the result of their trial. It was quite comfortable. In the outside world, the discussion about Kong Xinmu's betrayal of the clan spread more and more widely. There were also many people who were filled with righteous indignation and joined the ranks of those who denounced Kong Xinmu. Part of it was spread by the spies of the Fu Shui clan and the Thousand-Winged Snake clan in the Dragon God clan. There was also a portion of people from the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land and other places who wanted to seek justice for Huang Rusong. There was also a small group of people who believed in fairness and justice. These people felt that regardless of the reason, Kong Xinmu had relied on the power of the heritage ruins to kill a supreme expert of his own race. This kind of behavior was too much. If Kong Xinmu's behavior was not resisted, the Dragon God clan would definitely be in chaos in the future. Amidst the clamor, no one pursued the truth of that day. Very few people knew the details of the situation at that time, and what they knew was the truth that had been distorted. No one mentioned that Huang Rusong wanted to turn the tables on Kong Xinmu when Kong Xinmu was in danger. This was a true traitor of the clan. And the ordinary Dragon God clan citizens, because they did not know the details of that day, naturally sympathized with Huang Rusong and felt that there must be an explanation for Huang Rusong's death. Inside the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City. Regarding Huang Rusong's death, the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land naturally applauded. The supreme experts of the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land, led by Emperor Shi Divine Dragon, did not express any opinion on this matter, nor did they condemn Kong Xinmu. But they still maintained a reserved attitude. Everything was up to the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. But because of this, there were now many dragon martial artists from the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land and other places who came to the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City to cause trouble on the streets. The cultivators in the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City originally had no opinion on this matter. After all, it was a good thing that Kong Xinmu killed Huang Rusong. Previously, the people from the Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land had come to the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City to show off their strength. Now that Huang Rusong was actually killed by an Emperor-level dragon martial artist, this was undoubtedly great. The Wild Sand Radiant Sword Sacred Land was simply going to die of embarrassment. But more and more cultivators came to the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City. They did not dare to cause trouble in the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice Holy Land. But the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City did not have such lenient restrictions. More and more people came to the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City and demonstrated on the streets. Kong Xinmu indiscriminately killed the supreme experts of our clan. He must be punished. We must seek justice for General Huang Rusong. The Gu family is a traitor of the clan. Because it was Gu Xinyue who killed Huang Rusong with the power of inheritance, the Gu family residence in the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City was now surrounded by countless people, causing the head of the Gu family to not dare to go out at all times. Although he was not weak, there were currently many supreme god-level experts surrounding the Gu family residence. If these experts joined forces, it was not something that a single family head like him could deal with. Most of these people came from the Wild Sand Holy Land. To the Wild Sand Holy Land, Huang Rusong was an extremely important person. He was even the spiritual pillar of many of the dragon martial artists in the Holy Land. Now that he had died just like that, it was inevitable that they would want an explanation. Unfortunately, everyone in the Gu family was in seclusion. They were waiting for the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. Whatever the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower would be. Before that, they were not willing to waste their breath on it. Everyone in the Gu family believed that Gu Xinyue and Kong Xinmu did not kill Huang Rusong indiscriminately. There must be a reason. But they could not understand the truth from the rumors. Everything depended on the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. In the Five Extremes Mysterious Ice City, a group of dragon martial artists from the Dragon Martial Continent had just arrived. They were Li Xian, Wang Yu, Yun Yiru, Yue, and the others from the Devourer clan. There were 62 of them. Under the leadership of Shangguan Dai, they had come to the Dragon God's great world for training. They were here to train, but they did not expect that something like this would happen. They were all filled with righteous indignation. How could Boss kill indiscriminately? It must be that Huang Rusong who wanted to harm Boss. That's right. If he did not provoke Big Brother Jiang would not have taken the initiative to kill a supreme martial artist. Li Xian and Yun Yiru trusted Kong Xinmu unconditionally. They had been in the Dragon God's great world for some time. Their cultivation speed in the Dragon God's great world was much faster than in the Dragon Martial continent. Moreover, they could often spar with some genius disciples in the Dragon God's great world to hone their Dragon Martial techniques. The opponents in the Dragon God's great world were very strong. Sparring with them would greatly improve one's strength. In this period of time, the Devourer clan had all reached the first level of the Dragon Emperor Divine Dragon Blood Essence level. Those at the top had even reached the fourth level of the Dragon Emperor Divine Dragon Blood Essence level. Originally, they were all in the process of steadily improving. However, the incident with Kong Xinmu disrupted their cultivation process. On their way back from outside the city, they were surrounded by a large group of people. A portion of this group of people were from the Wild Sand Glorious Sword Sacred Land. Chapter 5475. The Wild Sand Glorious Sword Sacred Land could be said to have turned out in full force this time. The death of Huang Rusong made most of the disciples of the Wild Sand Shining Sword Holy Land go to every corner of the Dragon God world to spread the news that Kong Xinmu had betrayed the clan. As for the members of the Devouring Dragon Group, when they first came to the macro world of the Dragon Gods, they had made it clear to others that they were Kong Xinmu's subordinates. Originally, Kong Xinmu was an extremely prestigious name in the 5 extreme mysterious Eye City. Therefore, when they said that they were Kong Xinmu's subordinates, they would naturally be able to move around better in the 5 extremes mysterious Eye City. Regardless of whether it was cultivation, clothing, food, lodging, or finding someone to spar with, there were countless conveniences. But he didn't expect that after this incident, the people from the Wild Sand Glorious Sword Sacred Land would also come looking for him. The 64 members of the Devouring Dragon Group did not split up. Instead, they moved together. They followed Shangguan Dai and were returning to the 5 extreme mysterious Eye City from the wilderness training grounds. Just outside the city, they were surrounded by hundreds of dragon warriors. You are the Devouring Dragon Group under Kong Xinmu? A luxuriously dressed youth walked up to Shangguan Dai with an arrogant look on his face. This person had the grade of the Transcendent Divine Dragon's inherited blood essence. They could be considered the elites of the younger generation. This time, there were quite a few disciples from the Wild Sand Sword Sacred Land. It was completely normal for there to be a few elites. Shangguan Dai looked at him and nodded, saying, "Indeed. What do you want?" She was on her guard. After all, she was only at stage 1 Transcendent God. If they were to fight, she would not be a match for the young man in front of her. Moreover, the other party had more people this time. There were only 64 people in the entire Devouring Dragon Group. The enemy outnumbered them by at least twice. Shangguan Dai was dressed in red, her figure slender and elegant, causing the young man to look at her with a look of admiration. Kong Xinmu has committed the crime of betraying the clan. As his subordinates, you are naturally traitors of the clan. The young man said indifferently, "You still want to enter the city? I'm afraid I won't be able to fulfill your wish. I am Wild Sand Glorious Sword Sacred Land, Wu Chenhua. Today, I shall sentence you to death in advance." He was sentenced to death. What authority do you have to sentence others to death? Are you sent by the Dragon Soul Tower? Li Xian, with his fiery temper, couldn't hold it in anymore. He scolded angrily, "Little bastard, you grew up in the great world of the Dragon Gods, but you're only at the 3rd level of the Transcendent God realm. Too weak." He was now on the 4th floor of the Dragon Emperor. However, he was not afraid of Wu Chenhua, who was at the 3rd stage of the Transcendent God realm. After all, he had seen many Transcendent Gods. Because of Kong Xinmu, in the 5 extremes mysterious Eye City, even some Transcendental God Level 4 and Transcendental God Level 7 experts and seniors admired the members of the Devouring Dragon Group. Because they came from the Dragon Martial continent, in comparison, Their cultivation realms were not comparable to their peers in the dragon god's great world, but they were extremely talented. In the process of sparring and maturing, their improvement was obvious. It was simply too fast. He was afraid that they were all monsters like Kong Shin-mu. Therefore, in the Five Extremes mysterious Eye City, no one at the third stage of the Transcendent God Realm had spoken to Li Xian and the rest in such a tone. It was not that Li Xian and the rest were unreasonable, but Wu Chenhua was too much. Who do you think you are to sentence us to death? Shangguan Daier's expression darkened. With her current strength, she might not be able to protect all the members of the Devouring Dragon group. No matter what my identity is. Wu Chenhua's expression was cold. As long as you are traitors of the clan, anyone has the right to kill you. Traitors of the clan. What a joke. If you can't produce evidence, then you're slandering us. Wang Yue stared at Wu Chenhua and said calmly. Only then did Wu Chenhua notice that there were a few girls behind Shangguan Daier, and all of them were stunning beauties. Whether it was Wang Yue, Yun Yiru, or Yun Yue, they were all rare beauties in this world. When Wu Chenhua saw them, his eyes lit up. Kong Shin-mu betrayed the clan. Gu Xinyue betrayed the clan. Naturally, all of you are traitors as well. No matter how you defend yourself, it's useless. Wu Chenhua looked up arrogantly and sized up the girls. Of course, if you're willing to leave the so-called Devouring Dragon group and join me, I'm willing to speak up for you. The talents of the dragon gods cannot be killed for no reason just because of a Kong Shin-mu. If you want to live, make a decision now. Otherwise, when the Dragon Soul Holy Tower's verdict is made, it won't be so easy for you to leave. So, he was here to recruit people. However, it seemed that Wu Chenhua was only interested in the beautiful girls of the Devouring Dragon group and wanted to recruit them. Whether it was Shangguan Daier, Wang Yue, or the sisters, Yun Yiru and Yun Yue, Wu Chenhua was interested in all of them. Surround them. Wu Chenhua waved his hand. It's time to make a decision. How about we do it one by one? He first set his gaze on Shangguan Daier, scanning her exquisite figure under her red dress. You're the leader of the Devouring Dragon group? What's your name? What does my name have to do with you? Shangguan Daier huffed coldly. I'm warning you, this is the territory of the Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land, not your wild Sandsore Holy Land. Have you thought of the consequences of behaving so atrociously here? Humph, now that Kong Shin-mu is about to be judged as a traitor, those old fellows in the Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land are already holed up. Wu Chenhua's expression was disdainful. They're all waiting for the result. Before that, who would be willing to have anything to do with Kong Shin-mu? None of them want to bring trouble upon themselves. Moreover, our wild sand sword Holy Land is the victim. If you make another move, be careful of adding another crime to Kong Shin-mu's list. Hee. As he spoke, he approached Shangguan Daier step by step. His eyes stared evilly at Shangguan Daier's red dress, making Shangguan Daier feel extremely uneasy. Just thinking about it, it was obvious that if Wu Chenhua really turned to him, he would not have a good ending in the future. He would most likely become a plaything for his subordinates. Even if Shangguan Daier died, she would not be willing to become someone else's plaything. Devouring Dragon Group. Listen up. Prepare to break out. Shangguan Daier said in a low voice. But at this moment, a fragrant wind descended from the sky, followed by a layer of icy white flames that fell from the sky, blocking Wu Chenhua's path. Wild Sand Sword Holy Land. Wu Chenhua, is it? A cold female voice descended from the sky. A figure familiar to the Devouring Dragon Group descended. Wan Ren-yu. A 7th-grade disciple of the Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land. A 6th-level Transcendent God expert. She was on good terms with Emperor Shi's mystical dragon, and when Kong Shin-mu came to the Dragon God's great world, it was Wan Ren-yu who brought him. There was no need to doubt her identity and strength. At this moment, she had finally descended. Bai Yi's beautiful body stood in front of Wu Chenhua, blocking his way forward. Moreover, her beautiful face was filled with coldness as she stared at him. Do you really think that our Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land has no one else? Wan Ren-yu said indifferently. She raised her hand, and an icy white flame swept out in all directions. Chapter 5476. Wan Ren-yu had arrived. Wu Chenhua and the other people from the brilliant sand sword sacred land retreated, their expressions turning stiff. Without a doubt, they did not expect that experts from the Five Extremes mysterious ice sacred land would really appear to protect Shangguan Dyer and the others. Who are you? Wu Chenhua asked with a gloomy expression. Five Extremes mysterious ice sacred land. Wan Rinyu. Wan Rinyu was dressed in white, like a fairy, but her beautiful face was covered in frost. She had always been working for Emperor Shi Mystical Dragon, and was quite familiar with the bloodline of Emperor Shi Mystical Dragon. She was also very optimistic about Jiang Shenwu. Now that someone had actually attacked the devouring dragon group outside the Five Extremes mysterious ice city, she naturally could not tolerate it. She was angry now because she felt that the brilliant sand sword sacred land was going too far. You're standing up to help them now, aren't you afraid of being convicted as a traitor? Wu Chenhua said sinisterly, his eyes constantly sweeping over Wan Rinyu's slender figure. Looking at his wretched eyes, Wan Rinyu snorted coldly. Why don't you manage the dragon gods? Whoever you say is a traitor is a traitor. I think you should worry about yourselves. Us. Could it be that you still want to attack us? Wu Chenhua was not afraid at all. He snickered. Our General Huang Rusong has already died in your hands. The criminal is still waiting in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. By saying this, do you also want to go in and be tried together with that Kong Shinmu? His words were not wrong. Right now, Kong Shinmu was still waiting for his trial. If Wan Rinyu killed Wu Chenhua and the others here, then it would most likely cause a ruckus in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. Under normal circumstances, if there was a conflict between the dragon martial artists and they fought, it would naturally not involve the betrayal of the clan. But the key was that when Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue killed Huang Rusong, it was in front of the other four races. Therefore, the nature of it was different. Now, if Wan Rinyu killed Wu Chenhua, then it would be someone from the Five Extremes mysterious ice sacred land. Killing someone from the brilliant sand sword sacred land. Then the brilliant sand sword sacred land would really be a victim. I won't kill you, but don't think about attacking either. Wan Rinyu glanced at Wu Chenhua and said expressionlessly. She was here to protect Shangguan Dyer and the rest of the devouring dragon regiment. Since she was here, she would not leave rashly before the matter was resolved. All right, let's wait here for the results. Wu Chenhua wasn't afraid. He said calmly and boldly swept his gaze over Shangguan Dyer, Wan Rinyu, and the other women. His expression was frivolous as he said, "Let me say this first. If that Kong Shinmu is convicted of the crime of betraying the clan, then these people from the devouring dragon group will have nowhere to run. Wan Rinyu, if you protect them, you should also be prepared to be judged." He was going to wait here. Once Kong Shinmu was convicted of treason, he would have a reason to attack Shangguan Dyer and Yun Yiru. Yun Yiru and the others were still not strong enough. Otherwise, they would not have suffered such humiliation. But now, they could only rely on Wan Rinyu to protect them. They were not a match for a level 3 transcendent god. In fact, they were only at the emperor level. They were still a little far from the level of transcendent god. But each of them was extremely talented and their compatibility with the divine dragon's blood essence was quite outstanding. At least, before they reached the transcendent god level, they would not encounter any bottlenecks. It could be said that their journey was smooth. They were not afraid of a level 3 transcendent god like Wu Chenhua. It was only a matter of time before they surpassed Wu Chenhua. The situation was in a stalemate. Wan Rinyu wanted to bring everyone back to the Five Extremes mysterious ice city and rest while waiting. But Wu Chenhua brought people to surround them and did not let them leave. Thus, both sides could only be in a stalemate. If Wan Rinyu wanted to bring people to break out of the encirclement, they would definitely clash with the other party. Then the situation would not be good. No matter what, they just had to wait for the results. Inside the Five Extremes mysterious ice city, Gu family residence. A level 8 transcendent god from the Five Extremes mysterious ice holy land was guarding outside the Gu family residence. This level 8 transcendent god was a level 8 disciple of the Five Extremes mysterious ice holy land. All this time, this person had some enmity with the head of the Gu family. At this moment, he was naturally here to add insult to injury. Head of the Gu family, why aren't you willing to come out and meet us? Is it because your daughter has become a traitor to the clan that you've lost face? That's right. If your daughter really becomes a traitor, Your entire Gu family will probably be destroyed, right? I wonder how many people will come to add insult to injury. Now, this old man will give you a chance. Head of the Gu family, if you agree to let your daughter come to this old man's side as a female slave after this matter is over, this old man will protect your Gu family. What do you think? These words could only be said at a time like this. Senior Qin Biao, isn't it inappropriate for you to insult the Gu family like this? Outside of the Gu family, other cultivators of the dragon gods pretended to ask. As for the level 8 disciple of the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land called Qin Biao, he said matter-of-factly, this old man is giving the Gu family a chance. How is this an insult? What's inappropriate about it? In the entire Gu family, the only one I like is the daughter of the head of the Gu family. If not for his daughter becoming my female slave, this old man will definitely destroy the entire Gu family. Qin Biao had a grudge with the head of the Gu family. Therefore, it was normal for him to add insult to injury. Around the Gu family, there were many people from the wild sand shining sword holy land. When they saw Qin Biao add insult to injury, they could not help but be surprised and whispered among themselves. There's a rift within the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land? Of course. Where there are people, there will be conflicts. Then, we don't need to deal with this Gu family. We just need to wait and watch the show, right? That's right. Originally, there were many disciples of the wild sand shining sword holy land who had designs on the Gu family. They planned to extort some money from the Gu family in the name of Huang Rusong's death. But now, the level 8 disciples of the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land had their eyes on the Gu family. Then, they would wait until Qin Biao was satisfied before the others went up to get a share. In the great world of the dragon gods, the higher the level of the divine dragon's blood essence, the more respected they would be. The difference in status was like heaven and earth, especially after the 4th level of the transcendent god level. Therefore, the disciples of the wild sand shining sword holy land naturally did not dare to offend Qin Biao. If he killed you, there was nothing you could do. You could only die in vain. After all, he was a transcendent god level 8 expert, a level 8 disciple of the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land. The entire 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land was turbulent. Chapter 54-77. Everyone was waiting for the trial of the Dragon's Soul Holy Tower. There were already many people causing trouble around the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land. What happened to the dragon devouring group and the Gu family residents was not a special situation, but a common one. In the entire dragon god world, rumors about Kong Shinmu's betrayal of the clan had already spread. Many cultivators who did not know the truth were also accusing Kong Shinmu of betraying the clan. He actually used the power of the relic to kill the supreme expert of his own clan, and in the presence of the 5 major races. If this wasn't betrayal of the clan, what was? But, on the contrary, Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue, who were locked up in a waiting trial, did not feel too much pressure. They rested and cultivated in the Dragon's Soul Holy Tower. Kong Shinmu was even preparing to break through to the transcendent level. According to the current intelligence, it's impossible for me to be convicted of betraying the clan. Kong Shinmu thought. The reason why the Dragon's Soul Holy Tower hasn't come to a conclusion yet is probably because they want a more certain answer. A target for the people to vent their anger on. Now, rumors about Kong Shinmu's betrayal of the clan were spreading everywhere. If Kong Shinmu was declared innocent, it would have a negative impact on the entire dragon god race. Therefore, he had to give the people a way to vent. The best way to vent was, of course, Huang Rusong himself. They should be investigating if Huang Rusong knows about the space-time teleportation formation at the entrance of the relic, right? If Huang Rusong knows about it and did cover up the construction of the Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race, then he is the one who betrayed the clan. If Gu Xinyue and I killed him, we will be killing a traitor and getting rid of a scourge for the clan. Not only will we not be at fault, but we will also be meritorious. Kong Shinmu guessed in his heart. This should be the most likely possibility. And this would definitely take some time. Even with the abilities of the high and mighty dragon warriors in the Dragon's Soul Holy Tower, it was impossible to find out in a short period of time. After all, Huang Rusong was already dead. The Talisman Water Race and the Thousand-Winged Snake Race would not easily tell the truth. They were eager for the Dragon God Race to be in chaos. At the very least, they wanted to create some trouble for Kong Shinmu that was hard to solve. If they couldn't find a scapegoat, then even if the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower didn't convict Kong Shinmu, he would still be seen as a traitor in the eyes of the Dragon God clan in the future. With the ability of the Dragon Soul Dragon martial artist, how long will it take for them to find the truth? Kong Shinmu was a little curious about this. From this, he could roughly see how powerful the dragon warriors of the Dragon Soul were. If he wanted to find evidence, he could only start with the Talisman Water Clan or the Thousand-Winged Serpent Clan. One could imagine the difficulty. After all, the people that came into contact with this matter were surely important figures of the Talisman Water Clan and Thousand-Winged Snake Clan. How could they be so easily threatened to speak the truth? Wait. 7 days later, Kong Shinmu arrived at the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. The not-so-long wait was finally over. The verdict from the Dragon Soul Holy Tower was announced to all the Holy Lands of the Dragon God clan at the same time. Kong Shinmu is not guilty. Gu Xinyue is not guilty. Supreme General Huang Rusong of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land has committed the crime of betraying the clan and has been executed by Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue. Huang Rusong, 13 days ago, conspired with Xue Hantian of the Talisman Water Race and Moon Jiao of the Thousand-Winged Serpent Clan to secretly murder the genius of our clan, Kong Shinmu. They allowed the two races to build 5 space-time teleportation formations. When there was a conflict, they even tried to attack and murder Kong Shinmu. This is a traitor. Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue are not guilty. They have also contributed to killing the traitors. They are hereby rewarded. When the news came out, the entire Dragon God clan was shocked. Because the trial of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower not only announced the result of the trial, but also the process of the trial investigation. The important supreme experts of more than 120 holy lands in the Dragon God clan's macro world all received a detailed description of the investigation process, and they clearly knew the whole process of the investigation. Moreover, the evidence was also included. Therefore, the entire Dragon God clan was shocked. Many disciples of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land could not believe this was true. They thought that they could completely kill Kong Shinmu this time. In the end, the supreme expert of their holy land, Huang Rusong, was the first to betray the clan? And he was killed by Kong Shinmu and Gu Xinyue? This was too unbelievable, wasn't it? The entire Dragon God clan suddenly set off an unstoppable storm. This storm, starting from most of the holy lands in the Dragon God clan's macro world, directly rushed to the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land. The Wild Sand Sword Holy Land had repeatedly caused trouble. Not only did they plot against other holy lands during the competition of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower, but now they provoked the entire Dragon God clan. They even colluded with outsiders to frame the genius of the Dragon God clan, Kong Shinmu. This was unforgivable. After the incident, the thief cried thief and framed Kong Shinmu as a traitor of the clan? Unforgivable. Everyone was willing to believe the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. Moreover, the supreme experts of every holy land had received the details of this investigation. Since no one questioned it, it meant that the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower was correct. Huang Rusong was a traitor of the clan. The direction of the wind changed instantly. In one night, it blew all over the Dragon God clan's macro world. In the 5 Extremes mysterious ice city, many dragon warriors who were confronting One Ren Yu and the Devouring Dragon group, after receiving this news, all had an incredulous look on their faces. Especially the leader, Wu Chenhua. This person's expression was very interesting. The group of dragon warriors he led was not all disciples of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land. There were also some who came to denounce Kong Shinmu, but after receiving this news, they all retreated, keeping a large distance from Wu Chenhua and the others. So we were all deceived by the people of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land. This group of Wild Sand Sword Holy Land traitors are the traitors of the clan. That's right, Kong Shinmu is actually a genius little hero who killed the traitors of the clan. As expected of a young hero. Everyone understood that after this, Kong Shinmu's reputation would reach a whole new height. As a young genius, he could actually obtain a great harvest in the inheritance of Emperor Hua. Not only did he obtain the power of inheritance, but he also killed a supreme traitor of the clan. What kind of achievement was this? What kind of strength was this? Everyone retreated. The number of people around Wu Chenhua, who were still surrounding One Ren Yu and the Devouring Dragon group, instantly decreased by at least half. The remaining people were all disciples of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land. They all looked at each other and whispered, completely unable to believe this judgment was true. But how could the judgment of the Dragon Soul Holy Tower be false? It was actually their sacred land's Huang Rusong who betrayed the clan. This made it hard for many disciples of the Wild Sand Sword Holy Land to accept. Wu Chenhua dared not believe this was true. He opened his eyes wide, blue veins popping out on his forehead. Suddenly, he thought of something, and without thinking, he turned around and wanted to escape. He had surrounded the Devouring Dragon group for 2 days, blocking them and not letting them leave. During this period, he had also fearlessly glanced at the women in the Devouring Dragon group with a wretched look. Now that the truth was out, how could the Devouring Dragon group let him go? Among the members of the Devouring Dragon group, no one was his match for the time being. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.